Chapter 635. Two streaks of sword chi formed a cross in the air and rushed forward to block the attack of the sky hammer. At the same time, he formed a sword chi vortex beside him and quickly turned toward the fire snake. Boom! Bang! Four attacks collided in the air and exploded into a dazzling light. However, the other two attacked mercilessly. Another two extremely fierce attacks rushed toward Lin Xian. No matter how strong Lin Xian was, it was difficult for him to block them. This time, he was hit. His body trembled, and the red lotus armor flickered. In an instant, Lin Xian's face became extremely pale, and he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. In an instant, Lin Xian suffered an unimaginable injury. This was definitely the most serious injury he had suffered in the past 3 years. Lin Xian gritted his teeth and asked, while wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, "That damned Rizalong, is it done yet?" "Soon, soon. Hold on for a little longer." The Crimson Dragon replied, "You know that I lost my dragon essence and can't use my original strength, but don't worry, just hold on for a little longer. This formation will be done soon." "Okay," Lin Xian said while gritting his teeth. He quickly swallowed a few healing pills and madly circulated the immortality chant to heal the injuries in his body. "Humph, kid, how does it feel?" One of the black-robed men sneered. He flipped his palm and condensed a small pagoda, which quickly pressed downward. Lin Xian resisted. His body trembled again, and the blood at the corner of his mouth became thicker. "Ha ha ha, kid, you're showing off. How does it feel to be on the verge of death?" The elder of the Blackwood family sneered. They were like demons torturing Lin Xian bit by bit. "You four bastards, as long as I'm alive, I'll definitely blast you to smithereens." Lin Xian's voice was as cold as the god of death. "Humph! How dare you be so stubborn? Do you think you still have a chance to escape?" Another elder snorted and pointed a finger. A powerful light flickered and hit the red lotus armor, causing it to tremble violently. The violent power made Lin Xian spit out blood again. For a moment, Lin Xian's injuries worsened. This time, without any hesitation, he took out a 2,000-year-old spiritual herb and quickly swallowed it. The moment the elixir appeared, the 4 elders of the Blackwood family were shocked. Each of them stared at the elixir with fervent eyes. "It's actually a 2,000-year-old spiritual herb." The 4 of them were shocked. Even their family only had a few stalks of this kind of thing, but this hateful little thief in front of them actually didn't care about it at all, as if he was gnawing on a carrot. What a waste! What a waste! The 4 elders had an urge to tear Lin Xian apart. Looking at their expressions, Lin Xian chuckled. "4 old dogs, do you want to eat?" Lin Xian waved the elixir in his hand. At this moment, they were in the center of the black stone tablet, surrounded by terrifying dead spirits' resentment. The force was too terrifying. It was not something they could withstand at all. Even a venerable one would not be able to resist it. In an instant, the 4 of them felt their scalps go numb. Their eyes were filled with fear, and they wanted to escape. However, as soon as they moved, a blood-red sword chi quickly slashed at them and blocked their way. The 4 of them resisted and collided with the blood-red sword chi, instantly shattering it. However, they were still blocked. Moreover, the energy stimulated the surrounding dead spirits. Streaks of gray aura surrounded them, forming ferocious ghost heads that quickly bit at them. Miserable screams sounded. In an instant, the 4 of them were attacked by the dead spirits and were injured. "Damn thief! I'll kill you. I'll definitely kill you. When I come out, I'll definitely crush your bones and scatter your ashes. I'll extract your soul and refine it." The 4 elders of the Blackwood stronghold roared at the sky with ferocious expressions. "How is it? Does it feel good?" Lin Xian said with a smile, "Don't you like to torture people like this? Today, I'll let you have your fill." "Oh, you still want to come out?" In your dreams, you don't have the chance anymore. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon stood outside the formation with a sneer on their faces. Just now, the 4 elders of the Blackwood stronghold used this method to torture him. Now, he naturally wanted to pay them back. Lin Xian looked ahead, his eyes full of killing intent. Just now, the 4 elders ruthlessly attacked and forced him into a dead end, almost taking his life. If it were not for the Red Lotus battlesuit, he would have been killed by now. Now that the situation had reversed, how could he let them go? Chapter 636. The Crimson Dragon looked ahead with a smile on his face. He was very satisfied with the formation he arranged. Xiao Xuanzi, what do you think? Ben Wang's formation is not bad, right? Not bad, very good. I'll give you more primordial yang stones when we return. Hearing this, the Crimson Dragon became very excited. Since he schemed against Lin Xian last time, all his primordial yang stones were confiscated. That's why he worked so hard to help Lin Xian this time. It was to get more primordial yang stones so that he could recover his dragon primary 7 breaths. All right, I'll leave the rest to you. Ben Huang is going to get the stones. The Crimson Dragon ran in front of the snow-white little monkey and began to ask for the primordial yang stones. Lin Xian held the slaughter sword in his hand and stared at the 4 Blackwood stronghold elders in front of him. Now it was time for him to take revenge. At this moment, the death chi around the steel floated and turned into ghost heads, pouncing on them, making them flustered. Moreover, they didn't dare to be too presumptuous. They could only control their attacks to a very small area. After all, this place was too terrifying. If they encountered something, they might attract even more killing intent. At that time, they would be completely finished. Lin Xian didn't have any misgivings. He stared at the 4 people and quickly slashed out with the slaughter sword. At this moment, Lin Xian was seriously injured. He used a 2,000 years old spiritual medicine to forcibly suppress it. However, he didn't suppress the hatred in his heart. Instead, it became more and more intense. That's why his sword was filled with berserk power. This sword strike was still aimed at the weakest elder of Blackwood Castle. The weakest black-robed elder's right arm was bitten by a ghost head, and he was in a state of resistance. However, in the next moment, a berserk blood-colored sword, chi filled with killing intent, quickly slashed over. It just happened to cut off the elder's right shoulder and cut off his entire arm. That black-robed elder roared in pain with a malevolent face. Brat, I'll definitely kill you. Not only you, I'll also kill everyone you know. You and your family will all die in fear. The black-robed elder's demonic voice reverberated in the void. Damn you! Lin Xian's expression was cold, like a god of death. He slashed out with his long sword, and the blood-colored sword chi that filled the sky turned into countless strands of blood, forming a large net that enveloped the arm that he had chopped off. Then, the severed arm was quickly wrapped up. With a flash of light, the blood-red sword net ground the severed arm into powder. Lin Xian's every attack contained the power of the great dragon sword spirit. It could be said that he was not inferior to these elders, so he could easily injure them. Seeing that his arm had been destroyed, the elder with the severed arm raised his head and roared. His heart sank completely. With his cultivation, he was still unable to regrow his severed arm, so from now on he could only be a one-armed old man. Moreover, the loss of his right arm had greatly weakened his strength. However, he was obviously thinking too much because Lin Xian had no intention of letting him leave. Lin Xian swung his sword again. The terrifying sword chi was like the sharpest divine sword, quickly piercing forward. At the same time, the surrounding ghost heads formed by the death aura were nourished by the blood mist and became stronger again. They roared ferociously and pounced on the elder with the severed arm. The 3 elders around him roared and wanted to help. However, they were similarly tied down by the surrounding ghost heads and could not escape. The elder with the severed arm resisted frantically, but after 3 slashes, his left arm was chopped off again. No, I can't accept this. Without both arms, the elder had completely lost his combat strength. A blood-colored sword chi, like a cold-blood moon, spun rapidly and swept across. In an instant, the elder was cut in half at the waist. Slash. The elder's face was filled with unwillingness as his body was split in half. In the end, regret appeared in his eyes, but it was too late. Blood flowed, and the surrounding ghost heads quickly pounced on him. In an instant, the blood and the corpse were cleanly devoured, leaving no residue behind. Seeing this scene, the bodies of the 3 surviving elders trembled, and their hearts were filled with shock. Their comrade had disappeared right in front of their eyes. Not even a corpse was left behind. Lin Xian's expression was cold. The other party had asked for it. If he did not kill, they would have been killed. Therefore, he would not show any mercy. After dealing with the black-robed elder, Lin Xian's face became even paler. He was severely injured and could not hold on for long. Therefore, he had to end the battle quickly and kill the other 3. Thinking of this, he stretched out his left hand, and a pitch-black sword appeared. The Nirvana sword. The black longsword was filled with the aura of death and nirvana. It was 70 to 80% similar to the surrounding death aura. Therefore, when Lin Xian's Nirvana sword appeared, it immediately caused the surrounding death aura to resonate. As if attracted, the surrounding gray death aura quickly gathered towards the Nirvana sword. At this moment, Lin Xian could clearly feel that the Nirvana sword in his left hand was rapidly absorbing and growing stronger. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian quickly slashed with his sword. This time, he aimed at another black-robed elder. "Brat, how dare you?" When the 3 of them saw Lin Xian attack again, they immediately shouted angrily. They had already lost one of their men. They definitely could not let the other party kill them. However, Lin Xian's Nirvana sword was too strange. Especially under such circumstances, it was even more powerful. When the sword slashed out, pitch-black sword aura surged and slashed down like rolling demonic clouds. At the same time, countless death aura floated around the sword aura and also rushed towards the black-robed elder. Boom! The sword aura landed, and the elder was sent flying while vomiting blood. However, before he could react, another blood-red slaughter sword chi shot towards him at an extremely fast speed. Lin Xian attacked like a madman. The red and black sword aura alternated and formed a violent attack. The surrounding ferocious ghost heads became even more violent and cold under the influence of the Nirvana sword. Faced with such a violent attack, the black-robed elder could not resist at all. Not long after, his head was sent flying. "No!" the leading elder screamed. His heart was bleeding. These were the elites of the Blackwood family. They were all existences that could become honorable ones in the future. However, at this moment, all of them had fallen in this place. His heart was filled with regret and hatred. At the same time, his hatred was overflowing. He wanted nothing more than to tear Lin Xian into pieces. However, even if he was filled with regret, there was nothing he could do. Not long after, another person also fell into a pool of blood. He was the only one left. "Brat, I want you dead. The Blackwood family will not let you go." The leading elder roared, unwillingly. "If you didn't come to kill me, would you have fallen? So, don't regret it. You asked for it." Lin Xian's 2 swords clashed, forming a cross of red and black sword aura that surged in the air. The 2 swords combined to form an even more powerful force that quickly rushed towards the last elder. "You want to kill me? Not so easy." The leading elder roared angrily. He unleashed his martial soul prototype and quickly counterattacked. Chapter 637. His martial soul's embryonic form was a blazing spear. At this moment he held it in his hand, looking extraordinarily mighty. The spear trembled, and a sea of fire spread out, colliding head-on with Lin Xian's red and black sword Qi. Clang! Under the attack, the void trembled, and terrifying waves that could be seen with the naked eye swept out in all directions. In the next moment, the surrounding stone tablets seemed to be affected, and they emitted balls of black Qi. It was extremely terrifying. "Oh no!" Xiao Xuanzi run. At the side, the Crimson Dragon's expression changed drastically when he saw this scene. Humph! Lin Xian snorted coldly. He held the Nirvana sword and quickly swung it in front of him. Then he slashed down with his sword and quickly turned around to leave. Above, countless death Qi gathered, forming a huge black longsword that crashed down. At the last moment, Lin Xian used his earth-rank martial art Gale lightning sword and slashed at the elder, wanting to kill him there. And then, the elder's scalp went numb. He tried his best to escape from this place. However, just as he moved, the ground below suddenly cracked open, and a huge rotten palm reached out and grabbed him. At the same time, a death Qi that was even more powerful and terrifying than a venerable instantly filled the surroundings. Run! Lin Xian's face was pale. He used his extreme movement technique and quickly escaped from this place. He knew that there was no chance for that elder to survive. Moreover, what made him even more shocked was that there were unknown creatures here. The rotten hand grabbed the elder and then squeezed lightly, instantly crushing him into a bloody mist. Then it grabbed at Lin Xian. At this moment, the Gale lightning sword above his head fell and collided with the huge palm, erupting with terrifying energy waves. For a moment, the rotten hand was blocked, and Lin Xian took the opportunity to quickly escape. Whoosh! Under the endless yellow sand, a sword ray rushed out. Then the entire ground surged, and demonic Qi surged. It was extremely terrifying. Lin Xian floated in the sky and looked down with a face of lingering fear. If he had been a little slower, he would have stayed there forever. He did not expect the 100 Graves taboo formation to give birth to a living creature. How terrifying! The Crimson Dragon's expression was also solemn. "Let's go. You can't fight back with your current strength." Lin Xian nodded and turned to leave. 3 days later, he recovered from his injuries and flew towards Quicksand City. At the same time, the Blackwood clan fell into a state of anxiety. The 4 elders they sent out actually did not have a trace of news. This was definitely not a good thing for them. However, it was impossible for the 4 of them to die. One had to know that the 4 of them had all condensed their martial spirits. If they worked together, the thief would have no chance of surviving. However, 3 days had passed, and there was still no news. In fact, they didn't even know if those 4 people were dead or alive. Wait a little longer. They definitely won't have any problems, the patriarch said in a deep voice. However, 2 days later, they received news that the machine was not working. This was because someone had seen Lin Xian appear in the city. What? How is this possible? The higher-ups of the Blackwood Castle didn't believe it. However, the truth was right in front of them, and they had no choice but to accept it. At the same time, a chill rose from the bottom of their hearts. A bad premonition was brewing in their hearts. Lin Xian had returned, but there was no news of the 4 people they sent out. Could it be? They didn't dare to imagine. Impossible. It's impossible for that little bastard to escape, let alone kill our elders. What if there's a venerable behind him? Someone analyzed. Immediately, the elders of the Blackwood Castle gasped, and a trace of horror appeared in their eyes. Could it be someone from the Palace of Gods of War? They were bewildered. The patriarch's face was gloomy, and he was trembling with anger. Those 4 people were the elites of their patriarch, and they could become venerable existences in the future. but now they had all died. This was definitely a huge loss to their clan. Moreover, the current situation showed that Lin Xian definitely had experts protecting him. Therefore, they couldn't make a move anymore. All right, this matter ends here. When Yura returns, it will naturally be resolved. The patriarch ordered. Everyone was indignant, but no one refuted. They could only place their hopes on Blackwood Cliff. However, they were full of confidence, because Blackwood Cliff was not only their clan's pride, but also one of the few geniuses in the Sand region. He was definitely an existence that the younger generation looked up to. Therefore, as long as Blackwood Cliff made a move, Lin Xian would definitely die. In a quiet courtyard, Lin Xian, Nan Gongseng, and Ma Wulong gathered. The three of them sat on the lawn, surrounded by spirit wine and barbecued meat. Come, Brother Xian, let's toast you. I hope you survive. Nan Gongseng said, Brother Lin, congratulations on increasing your strength again. Ma Wulong also raised his wine cup. Come, drink to your heart's content. Lin Xian laughed loudly and clinked cups with the two of them. At the side, the Crimson Dragon and the snow-white little monkey also held their wine cups and drank nonstop. Damn, this Blackwood Cliff is too much. They actually sent 4 old farts. Nan Gongseng drank the spirit wine in one gulp and then cursed angrily. Ma Wulong smiled faintly. After this, the Blackwood Castle definitely wouldn't dare to touch Brother Lin again. No, I still feel aggrieved. Lin Xian rubbed his nose. Indeed, although we killed 4 old dogs, they deserved it. I think we should beat them. Brother Xian, what good idea do you have? Nan Gongseng was excited. Does the Blackwood family have any spirit medicine or spirit stone business? Lin Xian asked. Spirit medicine is too rare here, and I don't think you'll be interested in it. However, there are many precious ores. Nan Gongseng said. Brother Xian, do you have any good ideas? Precious ores? Lin Xian muttered. That's not bad. Why don't we borrow them? Spirit medicine resources here were scarce. Even if there were, Lin Xian wouldn't be interested. One must know that he had a bag of thousands of years old spirit medicine in his storage ring. However, he really hadn't seen many precious ores. Of course, other than the primordial yang stone. Borrow? How? Nan Gongseng was puzzled. I have my own plans. Lin Xian smiled mysteriously. You two think about it. Do you have any spirit ores that you've been longing for? Hearing this, Nan Gongseng and Ma Wulong looked at each other, then laughed sinisterly. Seems like you two have thought it through. Seeing their smiles, Lin Xian said with a smile, Brother Xian, you don't know, but other than the Blackwood Castle's Colosseum, there are several spirit ore shops in the city. They are all famous treasure shops. There are a few things that I've been eyeing for a long time, Nan Gongseng said excitedly. Although he didn't know what Lin Xian's plan was, since he said it, he would definitely be able to do it. Ma Wulong was a bit worried. Brother Lin, you're not thinking of stealing spirit ores, are you? If that's the case, I advise you to give up on that idea. Those spirit ore shops are very precious, and there are half-step venerable experts guarding them. Some of them are even venerable experts. Moreover, there are many formations there, and the defense is awe-inspiring. It's impossible for anyone to steal treasures from there. Chapter 638. Ma Wulong was somewhat worried because he knew that the defense of the Blackwood family was too tight. However, Lin Xian smiled mysteriously. Don't worry, I have my ways. It's very safe. You just need to give me the addresses of those shops. Then Ma Wulong took out a map of Quicksand City and pointed out the shops on it. Then Lin Xian gave the map to the Crimson Dragon and the Snow-White Monkey. You two go do it. Wuji, the Snow-White Monkey looked excited, and the Crimson Dragon roared again and again. Looting, I like it. The dragon and monkey went into the room. Nan Gongseng and Ma Rulong looked at each other in dismay, not knowing what Lin Xian was doing. You two, don't worry and wait. Lin Xian tasted the wine with a smile. Not long after, the Snow White Monkey and the Crimson Dragon came out. Nan Gongseng and Ma Rulong turned around and were shocked. F***CK. A miracle? This. The two were so shocked that they couldn't speak. Lin Xian's eyelids were also twitching, and the corner of his mouth was twitching. He didn't expect these two to have stolen so many things. Perhaps they had almost emptied the shops in the Blackwood Castle? That one was too excited and didn't control it well. The Crimson Dragon laughed mischievously. On the side, the Snow White Monkey was also proud, happily picking nonstop. Next to the two beasts was a pair of sparkling oars full of pure energy. Their appearance even filled the whole courtyard with spiritual energy. Of course, all of this was obtained by the Snow White Monkey from the treasure shop in the Blackwood Castle with a small treasure bowl. Looking at the sparkling oars on the ground, Nan Gongseng's mouth watered. He directly pounced on them. We're rich. We're really rich this time. Isn't this too much? I reckon the Blackwood Castle will go crazy. Ma Rulong also exclaimed. Is it too much? The Crimson Dragon laughed sinisterly. These are the leftovers we picked. The Snow White Monkey nodded. Obviously, these two guys had hidden a lot. Brother Lin, this Blackwood Castle won't go crazy, right? Who cares? Just use it without worry. I guarantee that they won't be able to find this place. Lin Xian was very confident. Then, I won't hold back. Ma Rulong also pounced forward. Damn. Golden Spirit's Scarlet Flame, or Nan Gongseng's eyes lit up as he grabbed a fist-sized golden stone. Legend has it that this stone contains powerful metal and fire attributes. It is definitely a sacred object for martial artists who cultivate metal and fire attributes. Black Feather Stone. Ma Rulong was also shocked. This stone was naturally inscribed with mysterious energy. If he could comprehend it, it would definitely be a great harvest. Seeing the two crazy people, the Crimson Dragon was tempted again. He rolled his eyes and stared at the ground, ready to attack. The Snow White little monkey also squinted its big eyes and jumped around happily. Let's split these stones, Lin Xian said with a smile. Whoosh. The few of them went crazy and quickly attacked. In the end, all the treasures and ores on the ground were divided among them. Lin Xian also picked a lot, and 3 of them were specifically requested by him. Wild Thunderstone was a stone left behind after the Thunder trial. It contained the violent power of thunder and lightning, and even had mysterious thunder patterns on it. Divine Windstone was produced in the Wind Valley. It contained a gust of wind and had endless magical uses. Red Fire Golden Crow Stone was said to come from the depths of the Sunset Desert and contained the power of strange fire. The reason why Lin Xian chose these 3 stones was related to his intent realm. He had already comprehended the wind and thunder conception. As for the fire conception, although he had not yet comprehended it, he had once supported the Black Dragon's flame and was very familiar with the fire attribute. It would not be difficult to comprehend it, and these 3 stones could help him comprehend the conception. In fact, Lin Xian originally wanted to only cultivate the sword conception so that he could ensure his concentration. However, the Crimson Dragon told him to cultivate more conception, especially the 5 elements conception. It said it was very important for his future path of martial arts. Although the Crimson Dragon did not explain in detail, Lin Xian pondered and finally decided to do as the Crimson Dragon said. After all, although the Crimson Dragon's cultivation base had been lost, he had once reached an unbelievable height. What it said must be reasonable. The wind and thunder conception was a variant of the 5 elements conception. Therefore, Lin Xian decided to improve the wind and thunder conception and also comprehend the fire conception as soon as possible. While Lin Xian was going crazy, the several treasure shops in the Blackwood Castle were furious. All the rare ores in their shops had disappeared, leaving only some ordinary goods. Seeing this scene, those attendants directly fainted in fright. Trash! A bunch of trash! An old man roared madly. He was the guardian elder of a rare treasure shop. At the moment, he was roaring madly in his shop. A bunch of people, you can't even see a few stones. Why don't you go die? Elder, those stones suddenly disappeared. Several attendants trembled in fright. Suddenly disappeared? That elder's face darkened. He simply did not perceive that someone had come, and the defensive formation in the surroundings was still there, showing no sign of being destroyed. However, the treasures in the shop had disappeared. Ghost, I've seen a ghost. That elder trembled with anger. He simply had no way to explain this to the clan. Moreover, the higher-ups of the clan would certainly not believe such words. A bunch of trash, get lost. Go and investigate. The elder roared furiously. Afterwards, he rushed to the clan in a rage. He simply did not dare to conceal such a big thing that had happened. However, when he arrived at the clan, he was shocked again, because the clan's conference hall was full of elders. Moreover, the clan leader was sitting at the head of the hall with a gloomy face and a frightening aura all over his body. And in the center of the hall, several people were standing with worried faces. The atmosphere in the hall was very oppressive. The elder who came to report felt his heart beat wildly. Did the clan already know? Cold sweat trickled down his forehead, and his body trembled slightly. He had lost so many rare ores. Even if he was killed, it would not be enough. Thinking of this, he felt his legs go soft. Seventh brother, you've come. Suddenly, the clan leader's voice was heard. Whoosh. Everyone's gaze landed on the elder, causing him to jump in fright. No way could it be that this is also everyone's side, and their expressions turned ugly. Seventh brother, why are you here? The first elder asked. This. The seventh elder broke out in cold sweat and did not know what to say. Seeing this scene, everyone was even more certain something had gone missing in the shop. The seventh elder opened the door with difficulty. Boom. Hearing that, the aura on the clan leader's body suddenly erupted like a tsunami that swept in all directions. It was the aura of a supremacy. At this moment, it was extremely strong, like 100,000 divine mountains that filled the sky. It's just a few things. I think the entire shop has gone missing. The clan leader's voice was cold. Clan leader, please spare me. The seventh elder knelt on the ground with a thud, his body trembling. It's as if something has gone wrong today. No one stole it, but those rare treasures disappeared into thin air. Clan leader, I'm really not lying. The seventh elder complained in his heart. Even he could not say that, but he could only say it. I believe you. Why wouldn't I believe you? The clan leader roared with a violent aura, because you're not the first to say that. I've heard it 3 times. Chapter 639. You're not the first person to say that. Before this, I've already heard it 3 times. The Blackwood stronghold leader's words reverberated in the air, causing the seventh elder's body to tremble. In the next moment, he understood and looked towards the main hall in disbelief. There, the 3 elders' faces were terrifyingly gloomy. Those elders were the same as him. They were all elders in charge of guarding the clan's treasure hall. Now that they had appeared here with that kind of expression, it was obvious that something similar had happened to him. Understanding this, the 7th elder's mind went blank. The family lost a large number of treasures in 4 treasure shops in one day. This was definitely an unimaginable loss for the family. Moreover, what was even more shocking was that they didn't know who had stolen their treasures. Patriarch, I think someone must be targeting us. The great elder said, in a deep voice. Could it be that thief Lin Xian? Someone asked doubtfully. Impossible. That thief definitely doesn't have this ability. I think it's very likely to be the faction behind him. You mean the Palace of Ares? Once this was said, the entire main hall fell silent again. They were one of the top factions in Quicksand City. Other factions were on par with them, so it was impossible for them to have the ability to hide from them. And it seemed that only the Palace of Ares had the ability to do so. Moreover, not long ago, they had ignored the warning of the Palace of Ares and secretly sent people to kill Lin Xian. Now, it was very likely that the Palace of Ares was taking revenge. Are we just going to let this matter go? An elder was unwilling to accept this. Let it go. How is that possible? The leader of the Blackwood stronghold was extremely angry. Investigate. Investigate thoroughly. You must keep an eye on that thief and see if there's anything unusual about him. Also, once you discover anyone from the Palace of Ares, immediately report to me. The leader of the Blackwood stronghold was really angry. One had to know that the treasures they had lost were all rare treasures. Those were their family's decades of accumulation. Now that they had all been lost, how could he not be angry? His heart was bleeding. Although the Palace of Ares is powerful, our Blackwood stronghold is not easy to bully. Great Elder, go to the Divine Bird Palace and spread the news of Goddess Morong to them. Also, you must invite the people from the Divine Bird Palace. Their Blackwood stronghold was not without a backer, and the Divine Bird Palace was their biggest backer. As long as they could invite people from the Divine Bird Palace, they would no longer fear the Palace of War Gods. In fact, they could even pay back the anger they had suffered before. After the clan leader finished giving his orders, those elders immediately left to do their own things. In the quiet courtyard, Ma Rulong and Nan Gongseng left with smiles after obtaining the precious ores. As for Lin Xian, he had sealed himself off in his courtyard and was meditating in seclusion. He left the defense formation and the safety of the courtyard to the Snow White Monkey and the Crimson Dragon. He sat under the ancient tree, holding the primordial Yang Stone with both hands as he cultivated. This Yuan Yang Stone contained pure Yang Qi, which could fundamentally change one's physique. So since Lin Xian obtained this thing, he had not stopped absorbing it. The transformation from the spirit-detecting realm to the Exalt realm wasn't just about the soul, but also about the evolution of the body's level of existence. Lin Xian had consumed the great strength essence in the Lost Lands and transformed his body. His life level had already reached the level of the Exalt realm, and this Yuan Yang Stone could better consolidate his body's level. Moreover, the Yuan Yang Stone not only had the effect of improving one's physique, but also could purify the spiritual energy in his body. It could be said to be a top-notch treasure. Closing his eyes, Lin Xian quickly operated the longevity secret art, absorbing the pure Yang Qi in his palm. Traces of pure Yang Qi were like tiny dragons quickly drilling into Lin Xian's body, operating together with the longevity secret art. Half an hour later, a slight cracking sound came from his palm. In the next moment, Lin Xian opened his eyes, his gaze bright and deep like the vast stars. He opened his palm and threw away the gravel in his hand. Those gravel were all Yuan Yang stones that had been absorbed, so they had no use. After absorbing the pure Yang Qi, Lin Xian took out the Wild Thunder Stone and Wind God Stone. Next, he would comprehend the two concepts of wind and thunder. The power of wind and thunder had accompanied him from the beginning, and it was also the concept he comprehended the earliest. Now, these two concepts had reached the great success stage, and this time, he wanted to use the strange stones in his hand to let the two concepts of wind and thunder reach the great perfection stage. Holding the two strange stones, Lin Xian closed his eyes again to comprehend. Traces of strange wind and thunder power came from his palm, and the inscriptions on the two strange stones shone. forming wind and thunder runes that surrounded Lin Xian. From afar, it was very strange. Just like this, Lin Xian continued to cultivate. At the same time, two spies from Blackwood Stronghold quickly came to the quiet courtyard to investigate. However, they were met with great resistance, because there was a layer of invisible formation power that blocked their divine sense and soul. Not good. This is a defensive formation. Quickly go and ask the clan's formation elder. Soon, an old man with sparse hair quickly rushed over. What kind of formation is this? Let me break it. You dare to play with a formation in front of me? What a joke! The old man sneered again and again. Then he waved his hands and quickly broke the formation. In the courtyard, the crimson dragon was lying leisurely by the pool, basking in the sun. At this moment, he suddenly raised his head and revealed an impatient expression. Damn it, where did this little bastard come from? How dare he break Ben Huang's formation? The crimson dragon jumped up in anger. See if Ben Huang doesn't play with you to death. Then he sneered, raised his dragon claw, and quickly controlled the formation. Outside, the Blackwood Stronghold's formation elder sneered. Soon it will be broken soon. You two prepare to investigate at any time. The formation elder was unusually arrogant. There's no formation that I can't break. However, in the next moment, he suddenly frowned. Something's wrong. Xiao Chen's hands danced as he quickly sent out saber after saber after saber. However, his frown deepened. Soon, the formation elder's expression changed from anxiety to shock and finally to horror. Bang! The air fluctuated, and a wave of light surged over, sending the formation elder flying. Puffed! The formation elder flew backward and fell to the ground. His chest felt stuffy, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Elder, what's wrong? The two middle-aged spies were so frightened that their expressions changed drastically, and they asked one after another. Just a moment ago, everything was fine, and their formation elder even revealed a victorious expression. However, in the blink of an eye, the situation had taken a huge turn. Their formation elder flew backward, and even spat out large mouthfuls of blood. The situation was too strange. The Blackwood Stronghold's formation elder sat on the ground, his eyes in a daze. He kept shouting, "Impossible. This is absolutely impossible." How could he have such profound attainments in formations? He was about to go crazy. He had nearly 100 years of cultivation in formations, but he could not see through the changes just now. In fact, as soon as he touched it, he was sent flying by the power of the formation. Needless to say, a formation that could injure him must be a rare formation in the world. How could a young boy's courtyard have such a formation? The state of wind and thunder had reached consummation, and he had also comprehended the state of fire. Currently, he had only reached small perfection. Most importantly, his perfect sword intent had already begun to fuse with the great dragon sword soul, forming the embryonic form of the sword soul. To his surprise, he discovered that some concepts were interlinked. There were a myriad of great da's, but the heart remained the same. That was why Lin Xian could comprehend them so quickly. If others knew about this, they would probably be scared to death. This kind of speed couldn't be described as extreme. It was abnormal. What a powerful aura. Let's go take a look. Lin Xian transformed into a sword scar and soared into the sky. At this moment, countless martial artists had gathered in Quicksand City. All of them raised their heads and looked towards the sky. In the sky, two martial artists were confronting each other. Countless rays of light surged from their bodies, covering their entire bodies. It was impossible to see their true appearances. However, from the aura of the two, they were very powerful, above everyone else. Lin Xian saw this scene and stood on top of a building, watching from afar. At the same time, he activated his soul power and heard the discussions below. Heavens, Xiao Li and Yen Qitian, two peerless geniuses. They actually appeared at the same time. Everyone was excited, their faces filled with ecstasy. Two of the four peerless young experts of the quicksand region had appeared at the same time, and they were confronting each other. Now, this was definitely a shocking event. Peerless experts. Lin Xian's heart trembled. The aura of the two was very powerful. They must have had embryonic forms of martial souls, and their strength definitely surpassed those of the older generation experts. So powerful. Lin Xian carefully sensed and realized that he didn't have the confidence to defeat one of them. Of course, the other party didn't have the confidence to defeat him either. In the sky, the two of them faced each other, forming a special area of pressure. Ordinary martial artists at the limit of the spirit-detecting realm would die upon contact. Suddenly, the aura of the two rose, and a huge pressure shrouded the surroundings, carrying a trace of the aura of a venerable. So powerful, so uncomfortable. The martial artists below were frightened and retreated. They couldn't withstand it at all. However, one person didn't retreat. He had a head of blue hair, and his body was surrounded by rays of starlight, like a god of war. At this moment, he also emitted a powerful aura that surged into the sky, not at all weaker than the two geniuses. Who is this person? So terrifying. He can actually resist the pressure of the peerless geniuses. Shen Yaotian, a genius from the quicksand region, from the House of Kings, also a peerless young expert. Someone recognized him. Chapter 641. Shen Yaotian's astral halo shone brightly, and a powerful astral force rushed toward Lin Xian. His attack directly broke the balance of the pressure formed by the four of them. Suddenly, the area that was originally covered by the pressure became an area of abnormally violent energy. The energy was so terrifying that it could destroy all martial artists below the honorable realm. Boom! The astral force shone like a real star and smashed toward Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted coldly. A sword mark appeared in front of him, and he quickly slashed down. The two collided, and a terrifying energy explosion occurred. At the same time, the other two figures also moved quickly and collided with each other. The impact was huge. It was not weaker than Lin Xian's at all. An earth-shattering sound was heard, and the skies seemed to be torn apart. Finally, the two separated. Like black lightning, they quickly rushed toward Lin Xian and Shen Yaotian. Whoosh! An intense aura surged, and a ray of light like a rainbow instantly lit up the entire sky. Accompanying it was an extremely fierce aura. The aura was abnormally violent and extremely sharp. In an instant, it quickly slashed toward Lin Xian. Lin Xian roared and clenched his fist, and a blood-red sword appeared in his hand. He swung the sword, and a terrifying killing aura filled the air. The blood-red sword aura surged like a river of blood, hanging across the sky. Boom, boom, boom. The two collided, and the sound of metal clashing rang out. It shook everyone's eardrums, and some weaker martial artists even bled from their ears and fainted. This strike was extremely terrifying. Lin Xian took a few steps back, and his entire right arm felt numb. One could imagine how powerful his opponent was. However, his opponent did not have it easy either. He retreated with a dazzling light. At this time, Lin Xian also saw the person's appearance. It was a tall young man with short hair and a burly figure. He held a huge black saber in his hand that emitted a cold light. Xiao Li. The saber was unstoppable. The aura was extremely fierce, as if it could split the entire sky. Furthermore, that powerful attack power was on par with Lin Xian's. As expected of a top expert from the Sand region, His strength was terrifying to the extreme. After that attack, Shaoli didn't continue to tangle with Sun Yaotian. Instead, he quickly attacked Sun Yaotian. At the same time, another powerful figure dashed towards Lin Xian at high speed. This person's skin was dark, and his facial features were regular. His eyes were as big as copper bells. Crimson runes covered his entire body. The demonic runes exuded a terrifying aura. With a punch, the void was torn apart. The terrifying fist was like a demonic mountain that was pushing out at high speed. Unlike the sharpness of Shao Li's fist, this fist was extremely violent, and its terrifying strength seemed to be able to suppress everything. This young man was abnormally domineering. Demonic runes flickered all over his body, making him look like a supreme demon king. He quickly rushed towards Lin Xian. This person was also one of the exceptional experts of the Sand region. His name was Yan Qitian, and he was extremely mysterious and powerful. It was difficult to find a worthy opponent in the entire Sand region. At this moment, he punched towards Lin Xian, wanting to destroy him. Before the fist arrived, the terrifying astral wind had already blown over, causing the surrounding air to boil. Within the violent force, there was a crimson light that seemed to be able to stir up Lin Xian's blood and qi. Lin Xian's eyes shone brightly. The sword soul in his body circulated quickly, and he immediately suppressed this impulse. Then he held the slaughter sword in his hand. On the tip of the sword, a huge dragon claw condensed and slammed down. The crimson dragon claw landed, tearing everything apart. A monstrous pressure accompanied it, as if the entire space couldn't withstand it. Pung! The huge dragon claw and the terrifying fist collided. It was as if two divine mountains had collided. Countless thunderbolts exploded in the surroundings, causing the entire sky to boil. After one attack, the two of them were evenly matched. Lin Xian's expression was solemn. Sword qi surged from his body, as if a sword god had descended. On the opposite side, Yan Qitian's demonic runes flickered, filled with a mysterious aura. After one attack, he also quickly retreated. The entire space was abnormally chaotic. The four of them attacked each other, almost tearing the sky apart. Dozens of huge stars lined up in the sky, forming a huge hand of stars that pressed down on Lin Xian mercilessly. Following that was a shocking blade light. There were actually two sky prides attacking Lin Xian at the same time. Lin Xian's pupils shrank as he activated the embryonic form of the sword soul in his body. In the next moment, a hazy sword light covered the long sword. Suddenly, the slaughter sword in his hand trembled as if it had a mind of its own. The low roar of a dragon and sword reverberated, as if awakening from endless time. A ray of sword qi, like a long dragon, swept out in all directions. This ray of sword qi was even more resplendent, several times stronger than the previous one. The sword light surged, tearing the sky apart, and collided with the two attacks. Boom! Dazzling energy exploded, and terrifying waves surged out. Lin Xian's face was pale as he constantly retreated in the void. In an instant, a demonic red lotus bloomed on his body. The red lotus armor covered his entire body, blocking the terrifying force outside. Invisibility kill. Lin Xian stabilized his body and stabbed out with his sword. The sword qi flashed and disappeared in the air. When it reappeared, it was already in front of Shao Li and Shen Yaotian. Lin Xian had used the concept of wind for this attack. It could be said to be a hidden killer move. Pung! Pung! Not only Lin Xian attacked, but Yan Qitian also attacked. In an instant, Shao Li and Shen Yaotian also let out a muffled groan as their bodies continuously retreated. The crowd below was horrified. Many of them were hit by the energy impact, and some were even injured. However, they still refused to leave. Such an exciting battle would not happen again if they missed it. Fortunately, the few of them were just probing attacks. After exchanging blows, the 4 of them retreated instantly and stood in 4 different directions. In an instant, the chaotic scene became extremely quiet. However, the oppressive aura in the air became even thicker, as if it was about to solidify. Ha ha! This feels great. Yan Qiqian's body was glowing with fiery red demonic patterns. He was like a demon king as he laughed loudly. It's been a long time since I had such a good fight. Humph! Shen Yaotian snorted coldly. He was born in the House of Kings and had high standards since he was young. He thought that he was the best in the world. Now, there were actually 3 people who were on par with him. This made him extremely depressed. Moreover, one of them was a guy that he had once regarded as an ant. Now he was actually able to compete with him. This made him go crazy. Shaoli did not speak. He silently looked at Lin Xian and the other 2. Then, a saber radiance rushed out from his body. He became one with his saber and quickly left. Then, the other 2 left as well. Lin Xian's battle intent gradually disappeared. He also turned into a sword radiance and disappeared in the air. Today's battle made him very emotional. At the same time, he had a deep understanding of the combat strength of the top youths in the Sand region. These people had already condensed the embryonic form of their martial souls. They belonged to the half-step honorable realm and were not any weaker than him. To be able to compete with so many young experts, Lin Xian felt a burst of joy in his heart. However, he knew that these people were not convinced of each other's strength. Sooner or later, there would be a big battle. Chapter 642. Of course, Lin Xian knew that their strengths were about the same. Even if they fought with all their strength, it was likely that both sides would suffer. If he wanted to win and stand above everyone else, he would have to enter the venerable realm and become a venerable, or he would have to condense a true martial soul. Lin Xian's current cultivation was only at the late spirit detecting realm. If he wanted to enter the venerable realm, it would be difficult. At the very least, in terms of cultivation, it would be impossible. But he could condense a true martial soul. Moreover, in this aspect, he had an advantage over everyone else. He already had the great dragon sword soul within his body. As long as he fused his perfect sword intent with it, his sword soul would be complete. This process would be much faster than the others. Of course, in terms of cultivation, the others also had advantages that Lin Xian didn't have. So, the next step would be to see who would be the first to condense a true martial soul. Lin Xian took a deep breath and landed in the quiet courtyard. There were still over 10 days before the Alliance Martial Assembly would begin. Many martial artists would participate. Not only would there be peerless masters from the Sand region, but there would also be geniuses from outside the region like Shen Yaotian. Thus, the following battles could be said to be extremely fierce and dangerous. Of course, these people all had different goals. Some came for Heavenly Maiden Morong, and some came to make a name for themselves. But no matter what, these people were all Lin Xian's enemies. He had to defeat everyone in order to obtain the divine dream bone. It wasn't just Lin Xian who wanted to condense a true martial soul. Everyone else had the same idea. Only by condensing a true martial soul would one be able to suppress the younger generation and become the number 1 character of the younger generation. There were still around 10 days until the Alliance Martial Assembly began. Lin Xian went into seclusion once more, fully fusing with the great dragon sword soul. Ever since the battle with Xiao Li and the other 2 peerless masters, the entire Quicksand City hadn't calmed down. Everyone had been in an abnormally excited state. In the streets and alleys, everyone was talking about the scene from that day. Countless martial artists were discussing who was stronger among Lin Xian's group of 4. Moreover, more and more masters were pouring into Quicksand City. When these people heard the names of Lin Xian and the others, they weren't convinced and wanted to fight. However, Lin Xian and the others hadn't appeared since that last battle. In Blackwood Stronghold, the elders of the Black Screen clan gathered together. At this moment, their faces were full of excitement and joy because the first elder had sent back a message. He had successfully invited the outstanding genius of the Divine Bird Palace and would arrive in a few days. Furthermore, what made them even more excited was that the genius of their clan, He Muya, who was also one of the most exceptional experts of the Sand region, had returned to the clan today. He Muya was a skinny young man. Although he wasn't particularly handsome, he had a unique aura about him. Not long after he returned to his family, he heard the news that his family had been damaged. After asking around, he found out that this matter was related to a young man named Lin Xian. Humph! A little martial artist at the late stage of the spirit-detecting realm dares to provoke our family. Do you really think that there's no one in the Darkwood family? He Muya coldly snorted, a strong killing intent appearing in his eyes. Be careful. That little thief is extremely valiant. A few days ago, he fought with Xiao Li, Yan Qitian, and the others. Presumably, his strength is already not inferior to them. Father, don't worry. I'm confident. Moreover, this little thief has repeatedly bullied the Blackwood Stronghold. I will definitely cut him down. He Muya was very confident. Even if Lin Xian displayed his valiant strength, he would not be afraid. On this day, He Muya stood above Quicksand City. His loud voice was like rolling thunderclouds that spread out in all directions. Lin Xian, come out and face your death. At this moment, all the martial artists in Quicksand City were in an uproar. They all looked up at the sky. He Muya is back, many people exclaimed. This He Muya is really powerful. As soon as he returned, he started a battle with Lin Xian. There's no other way. Their He Muya family suffered such a big loss at the hands of Lin Xian. Naturally, they have to pay back now. I'm afraid this battle won't be easy. You have to know that Lin Xian is already able to contend with those geniuses. Not necessarily. He Muya definitely knows this news. However, he still dares to fight with Lin Xian. I think he has enough confidence. Perhaps he has some trump card in his hand. Everyone was discussing and looking forward to this battle. However, to their disappointment, Lin Xian did not seem to know about this matter and never appeared. Humph! Gutless rat! I was wondering what kind of expert you were. Turns out you're just a coward. He Muya's voice echoed in Quicksand City. Fine, I'll let you live for a few days. When you come out, I'll immediately take your dog life. He Muya sneered a few times, then quickly descended to the ground. Suddenly, the news spread like wildfire to every corner of Quicksand City. Everyone knew that He Muya was determined to fight with Lin Xian. Perhaps when Lin Xian appeared, it would be the day of the battle. Nan Gongseng and Ma Long were also worried. Although they had seen Lin Xian's strength with their own eyes, He Muya's reputation was too great. He was almost equivalent to the top battle strength of the younger generation in Quicksand City. It could be said that it was difficult to find a worthy opponent. Now that he announced in such a high-profile manner that he wanted to kill Lin Xian, they were afraid that he did not come with good intentions. The two of them went to the quiet courtyard, but found that it was covered by a mysterious array and could not enter. No wonder Lin Xian did not appear. It turned out that he was in seclusion. The two of them sighed and then returned to the arena with worried faces. They could not help much in the situation. They could only pray that Lin Xian's strength would increase greatly. Lin Xian did not know about He Muya's clamor and provocation. At this moment, he was cultivating and fusing with the great dragon sword soul trying to condense a true martial soul. He did not want to waste a single moment. He was racing against time. Whoever condensed a true martial soul first would be the top expert of the younger generation. Moreover, once he condensed a martial soul, Lin Xian would have the strength of a venerable. At that time, his safety would be greatly increased. However, these days, his martial soul fusion seemed to have reached a bottleneck and did not improve. Brat, just seclusion is useless. Although your martial soul is fierce, it lacks a trace of killing intent and blood. The Crimson Dragon shook its head. Without experiencing the baptism of blood, it could not be considered a true martial soul. Lin Xian was silent. As an ancient expert, the Crimson Dragon's knowledge was extraordinary. Its words must have some truth. Moreover, Lin Xian himself felt that his martial soul seemed to be lacking something. You need some battles. Not the kind of killing, but a real battle. The Crimson Dragon reminded, these days your battles were either because you were too weak and were too lazy to fight, or because they were too strong and you could not contend against them. The only battle that could be said to be at the same level was the battle with the three geniuses. However, in that battle, you were only probing attacks. It did not have any effect at all. Only by going all out and squeezing out all your potential can you stimulate the martial soul fusion again. Lin Xian raised his eyebrows, listening to the Crimson Dragon's words. It wanted him to find those peerless geniuses to compete. This guy, was it thinking of tricking him again? Chapter 643. Don't worry, I won't cheat you this time, the Crimson Dragon explained. Of course, if you don't want to take the risk, it doesn't matter. You have the great dragon sword soul, so you'll be able to condense a martial soul sooner or later. However, it might take a year or two. Kid, if you're not happy, condensing a martial soul in 1 or 2 years is already very heaven-defying. You should know that ordinary warriors can't reach this step without 200 or 300 years. But you used 1 or 2 years to complete the journey that others took 100 or 200 years. It's absolutely heaven-defying. Of course, if you use my method, you'll be able to condense a real martial soul in a short time. After all, you already have the great dragon sword soul. What you need to do now is to fuse them. And the life and death battle is the accelerator to promote the fusion. If there's a big battle, how long will it take to fuse them into a real martial soul? Lin Xian asked, with your aptitude, about 10 days is definitely not a problem. 10 days. Lin Xian took a deep breath. That was about the time when the Alliance tournament would begin. Okay. Lin Xian nodded, his eyes full of fighting spirit. You'll be in great danger. If you don't sublimate in battle, you'll die in battle. You have to think carefully. I've already thought it through. The path of martial arts is against the heavens. If I don't be ruthless to myself now, who knows when I'll be killed by others? Rather than that, it's better to have a vigorous battle with an expert like now. Even if I die, I'll have no regrets. Lin Xian's voice was sonorous as the fighting spirit in his eyes continued to rise. Oh, okay. I'll set up a defensive formation here and wait for your return. Lin Xian nodded, then his palms danced, and the power of wind and thunder intertwined. A cyan longbow appeared in his hand. At the same time, lightning surged on his right hand, forming a golden arrow. Clear wind bow. Lin Xian used an ancient skill. He raised the bow, sensed carefully, and shot an arrow. Bang! The air trembled, and the airwaves rolled. The golden arrow turned into a stream of light and disappeared in the air. The Blackwood Castle was brightly lit. In a magnificent hall, there was singing and dancing. At this moment, Hei Muya was drinking wine and chatting with the one-fist youth martial artist. He was extremely furious. The auras of these young martial artists were abnormal. They were at the same level in the distance, and 2 or 3 of them even had extremely powerful cultivations, only slightly weaker than Blackwood Cliff. They were all fellow disciples of Blackwood Cliff, disciples of Yellow Sand Valley, a 6-star sect in the Sand region. Ha ha, senior brother is mighty. You scared that brat so much that he doesn't even dare to show his face. What expert? I think he's just a coward. The group of people sneered. If that brat dares to come out again, there's no need for senior Marshall brother to do anything. We'll be able to kill him. All right, a piece of trash isn't worth mentioning. Hey, Muya shook his head. Senior brother, yeah, is that moron goddess really here? A few young disciples changed the topic. Hearing this, the others also pricked up their ears, and their eyes lit up. Yes, that should be right. I think we'll be able to see it during the alliance battle. Hey, Muya said with a smile. When the time comes, I'll defeat all the strong enemies and pursue Morong Tianju. I'll be your senior sister-in-law. Ha ha, senior brother is mighty. The group of youths shouted madly. Boom. At this moment, the top of the main hall suddenly exploded. Violent energy wreaked havoc, and a golden light shot towards Blackwood Cliff as fast as lightning. Wherever it passed, golden electric arcs jumped and pierced through the void. This attack was extremely powerful. It was enough to kill 6 or 7 ultimate warriors at the same time. The surrounding disciples' expressions changed. They did not expect that someone would dare to attack their senior Marshall brother. Blackwood Cliff's pupils constricted, and he snorted coldly. A black shadow quickly rushed out from his body and pounced forward. That black shadow was a black tree branch. It spread out in the air and formed a blackwood palm that suddenly grabbed down. Ka. With a grasp, it grabbed the golden arrow tightly. Humph, you're just a small. Before he could finish his sentence, the golden arrow suddenly exploded. Countless electric arcs jumped and intertwined to form a sea of lightning that instantly enveloped Blackwood Cliff. Senior Marshall brother, a few disciples exclaimed, their faces full of shock. Ka. However, in the next moment, countless blackwood branches suddenly emerged from the golden sea of lightning and spread rapidly. From the looks of it, it was clearly a large black tree. The countless black branches danced and pierced through the golden sea of lightning. Not long after, the entire violent sea of lightning disappeared. Behind the black tree was Blackwood Cliff's figure. In front of him was a wall made of black branches that blocked all the attacks. However, the front of the wall was charred black. There were even some small cracks in some places. Blackwood Cliff, come out and die. In the next moment, an earth-shattering voice sounded. It was as if divine thunder had descended and resounded in all directions. Countless martial artists were shocked and rushed to the streets. The people of the Blackwood family were even more panicked. Lin Xian. It's Lin Xian's voice. Everyone was excited and went crazy. Previously, when Blackwood Cliff challenged Lin Xian, there was no response, which disappointed everyone. They did not expect Lin Xian to take the initiative to attack this time. It seemed that this battle was unavoidable. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In the main hall, countless black branches twitched and retracted into Blackwood Cliff's body. Lin Xian, Blackwood Cliff's expression was cold. He gritted his teeth, and a shocking murderous aura spread from his body. Yeah. At the same time, the elders of the Blackwood family came to the main hall with solemn expressions. Don't worry, I'll kill him now. Humph, he's just a little thief. There's no need for senior brother to take action. I'll take him down, a black-clothed youth said. His aura was very powerful, and he had already condensed a trace of martial soul. Okay, Blackwood Cliff nodded. He could take this opportunity to see Lin Xian's strength. Suddenly, the black-clothed youth's face was filled with joy. He then rose and disappeared from the main hall. Whoosh! The black-clothed youth appeared above the void. His eyes were like lightning as he scanned the surroundings. Who are you? How dare you sneak attack me? Come out and die, the black-clothed youth shouted. His body emitted a terrifying aura, and a trace of martial soul's power spread out. Everyone below was shocked and looked at the sky in horror. This person is so powerful. When did the Blackwood Fort have such an expert? Where's Blackwood Cliff? Are you hiding inside and not daring to come out? Lin Xian's voice sounded again, but he still did not appear. Humph, there's no need for senior brother to kill you. I can kill you alone. Scram, or die. A cold voice echoed in the surroundings. Shameless boasting. Come out and I'll kill you with one strike. The black-clothed youth was furious. How dare Lin Xian look down on him? However, there was no sound this time. What responded to him was a golden longsword. This sword was as fast as lightning and extremely sharp. It was much more powerful than the arrow from before, because it carried a monstrous sword essence. Whoosh! The lightning longsword swept across the void and instantly pierced toward the black-clothed youth. Oh no! Feeling the sword essence, the black-clothed youth's face changed greatly. He finally knew how terrifying Lin Xian was. Block it! He frantically defended and instantly set up 3 layers of defense. This time, he was relieved. Crack! Puff! In the next moment, the golden longsword descended and instantly destroyed the 3 layers of defense. It quickly pierced his chest and flew toward the main hall of the Blackwood Cliff with his body. Ding! The void trembled and the earth shook. The entire main hall was on the verge of collapse. On the ground, the black-clothed youth's body was pulled out and nailed to the ground by a golden longsword. Chapter 644. With one sword, he nailed the warrior who had condensed a trace of martial soul to the ground. This scene was too shocking. Moreover, Lin Xian killed his opponent in seconds without even showing his face. This method was too terrifying. In the main hall of Blackwood Fort, the atmosphere was very solemn. Those young warriors were frightened and trembling slightly. Is this the young man they despised? He's so strong. That black-clothed young man was ranked 3rd among them, second only to Blackwood Cliff. But now he was defeated with one sword. Blackwood Cliff might not be able to do it. Blackwood Cliff, if you want to be a coward, you can continue to send others. Lin Xian's voice sounded again. Those warriors who were watching the battle were shocked. They thought Blackwood Cliff was strong enough, but they didn't expect Lin Xian to be even fiercer. He didn't take Blackwood Cliff seriously at all. Bang! A powerful aura burst out, and a figure appeared in the void. I wanted to let you live for a few more days, but since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Blackwood Cliff was full of killing intent. Swish! Lin Xian's figure appeared. This place is too small. I can't use my full strength. Do you dare to fight outside the city? It's the same, no matter where you go. Today is your doomsday. Whoosh whoosh. Lin Xian turned into a flowing light and left quickly. Blackwood Cliff quickly followed behind. The 2 of them disappeared from Quicksand City like lightning. They disappeared. Go after them. Many warriors chased after them. They didn't want to miss such a big battle. The people of Blackwood Fort also followed, and there were even venerables among them, but they were stopped by the city master and the Ma family's elder. Everyone let the younger generation solve their own problems. The venerables of Blackwood Fort had ugly expressions. There were 9 layers of venerables, and each layer had a world of difference. The highest cultivation among them was only at the 2nd layer of venerables, and they were no match for City Master Qi. Moreover, there was an even more terrifying Ma family's elder next to him. Unless they invited their ancestor, they wouldn't be able to defeat him. Forget it, you guys stay. You have to trust you. An old voice sounded, shaking the void. The few venerable ones from Blackwood Fort trembled when they heard this. They knew that their ancestor had spoken. Humph, your is shockingly talented. he will definitely be able to kill that little bastard. The group of venerables waited patiently. Whoosh! The sunset desert was a desolate place. Two figures descended. They were none other than Lin Xian and He Muya. You really know how to choose your own grave. He Muya sneered, but I won't let you die so easily. I will torture you to death bit by bit. Cut the crap. Today, only one of us can leave. Lin Xian shouted coldly, turning into a sword ray and rushing out. A shocking sword chi slashed out violently. It was extremely breathtaking and tore apart the sky. The spiritual chi in front of him was sucked dry, and all of it surged into the sword chi, making it even more powerful. Scram! He Muya punched out, and numerous black tree trunks gushed out. They were like numerous venomous snakes that rapidly coiled and formed a terrifying He Muya fist. Boom! The blackwood fist collided with the sword chi, causing the entire void to explode. The terrifying sword chi and whistling energy wreaked havoc, and a terrifying sound spread out in all directions. Look, they're fighting. Some powerful martial artists rushed over and hid in the distance to watch. There were very few martial artists, and most of them could not keep up with Lin Xian and He Muya's speed. However, this terrifying scene provided them with guidance. You want to hurt me with just a sword chi? Ridiculous! He Muya shouted angrily. Open! His entire body's spiritual chi surged, and a small black tree appeared behind him, emitting a faint black light. Suddenly, countless thick black tree branches surged out from his body and spread rapidly. They were like demons that rushed into the sky. Thousands of trees moved together, bombarding the sword chi. Bang! That sword chi could not withstand it and cracked with a bang. However, the shattered sword chi twisted and evolved into countless small swords, like a rain of swords, enveloping He Muya. Insignificant skill. If you only have this much strength, you can go die. He Muya laughed wildly, and the small tree behind him bloomed with light, emitting a terrifying and inexplicable energy that swept in all directions, destroying all the sword rain. Then he let out a long roar and swept over with all the tree branches. Martial soul fledgling form. Lin Xian frowned. He Muya was more powerful than he had imagined. However, he would not be afraid. Today, let's have a good fight. Lin Xian did not hold back, and also used the sword soul fledgling form. Powerful sword intent filled the surroundings, forming countless sword chi that split the sky and earth. Sword of slaughter. With a slash, the blood-colored sword chi surged, condensing into a huge blood sword in the void, as if it could split mountains. On the opposite side, the huge He Muya transformed into a tree demon. It was ferocious and terrifying, with a powerful vitality on its body and a monstrous aura enveloped an area. Chi. Boom. The two collided, and terrifying energy surged. The light was even more dazzling than the sun. The whole void emitted a cracking sound, and terrifying cracks appeared. The yellow sand underground was blown away, and the cracks were thousands of meters long, spreading out in all directions. This attack was too terrifying, and it was enough to destroy a small city. Lin Xian quickly retreated, and the red lotus battle armor appeared on his body, making him look like a fiend god. On the opposite side, He Muya was also shocked. Lin Xian's strength was beyond his expectations. The sharp sword chi caused his skin to tighten, and he felt his heart palpitate. This feeling made his face darken, and he was very angry. The black tree branches intertwined, forming a battle intent that protected him. At the same time, he grabbed the black tree behind him and formed a shield with his left hand, making him look extremely demonic. Then he held the black tree and attacked again. Rays of black light shot out, rushing toward Lin Xian with an inexplicable aura. Lin Xian felt danger. The black light was like a fiend god's spear. It looked gentle, but it was extremely terrifying. In front of him, a hazy sword shadow appeared. On the sword hilt, there was a ferocious dragon head, and the whole sword looked like a dragon's body. Dragon sword. This was the embryonic form of Lin Xian's sword soul. Although it was blurry and incomplete, it emitted a terrifying aura as soon as it appeared. It was as if an ancient divine beast had awakened, and its powerful strength was terrifying. He looked at He Muya, who was rushing toward him, and quickly grabbed the dragon sword soul and slashed down. A low dragon roar sounded. Wherever the dragon sword passed, it had the power to shatter mountains. The dazzling sword chi crisscrossed, cutting the spreading black tree branches. Not only that, but the whole world seemed to be cut in half. Boom! In an instant, the demonic tree branches in front of He Muya were all destroyed. He snorted and raised the shield in his left hand in front of him. Clang! Crack! The shield lasted for a moment, and then it quickly cracked. He Muya's expression changed greatly. The small black tree in his hand swept horizontally, striking out a black hazy light. Only then was the large dragon sword chi swept away. However, that terrifying sword intent still caused him to continuously retreat. Lin Xian's attack succeeded, but he was also in danger. That was because the black light from He Muya's martial path had dodged the dragon sword chi and was already in front of him. Chapter 645. The 5 black lights were like the spears of the death god. They carried an extremely dangerous aura and instantly collided with Lin Xian's body. Lin Xian roared angrily and quickly operated the red lotus battle suit. Streaks of blood-red glazed light bloomed. The entire red lotus battle suit was dripping with blood. It was very demonic. The red lotus in the center seemed to come alive and swayed slightly. Boom! The black martial Dao light blasted on it and quickly exploded. Terrifying black gas filled the air and enveloped the world. Ha! He Muya stopped his body and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He looked up and laughed. You're still seriously injured after being hit by my death god light. Let's see how you fight me. He was very happy. The black tree was the embryonic form of his martial soul. Moreover, the attack just now was one of his ultimate moves. The death god light could deprive a martial artist of their vitality and cause them to die. Anyone who was hit by it would either die or be seriously injured. It was very ruthless. This time, he risked being hit by Lin Xian's sword to attack. As expected, he hit. Placing the black tree in front of him, He Muya operated a mysterious technique to repair the damage. Then he stepped into the void and walked forward step by step. The black wood on his body surged and formed a spear that he held in his hand. He wanted to torture Lin Xian to death. However, just as he walked in front of the black fog, a bright sword light suddenly split open. The speed was so fast that his eyelids twitched wildly. At the critical moment, the black tree in front of him bloomed with light. The hazy black light blocked the sword. At that time, the terrifying and sharp sword chi still sent He Muya flying. Puff! He Muya flew backward and retreated hundreds of feet before he could stop himself. He spat out a mouthful of blood. In his carelessness, he was injured again. Lin Xian. He Muya's eyes shot out a terrifying light as he stared ahead. The black fog in front of him disappeared, and Lin Xian's voice appeared. The red lotus battle suit on his body flickered, but there was a black mark on his chest. That was the place where the 5 black lights swept past. The death god light was too terrifying. Even though Lin Xian had the red lotus battle suit, he was still injured. However, he endured the pain and forcibly stopped his body. He did not retreat in order to give He Muya a sudden attack. Sure enough, He Muya was careless and fell for it. although both of them were injured. He Muya's injuries were more serious. "Brat, you've thoroughly infuriated me." He Muya's voice was hoarse, like that of a devil. Two black rays of light shot out from his eyes, like the flames of hell. He Muya roared like a ferocious beast. In front of him, the light emitted by the small black tree was even more dazzling. It was like a black sun that was slowly rotating. "Holy tree, enter my body." He Muya shouted in a deep voice. His voice was very low and hoarse, as if it came from hell. The small black tree in front of him rotated and emitted a black light. Wisps of black mist filled the air and formed a light cocoon that enveloped the blackwood cliff. Then the small tree slowly took root in He Muya's chest. Gulp! With the combination of the two, a world-shaking aura emanated from He Muya's body. This aura was very shocking. Even if he was not a true venerable one, he was probably not far from it. Die! He Muya sneered and turned into a black light, quickly rushing towards Lin Xian. Around him, the black aura roared ferociously like a black torrent. Black Demon Tree, live. With a low shout, He Muya formed a seal with his palm and pressed it against the void. The small black tree in front of his chest bloomed with light and spat out a seed. It was accompanied by a palm print. Bang! The void trembled. At the place where the palm print was, a demonic tree grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. It immediately filled the entire sky. The branches trembled as if demons were dancing. The black leaves were as big as houses, and the trunk was like a small mountain covering the sky and the sun. Horizontal wood sky weapon. He Muya stretched out his hands again. On his palms, light bloomed and a purplish-black giant tree appeared. It was as huge as a heavenly pillar and enveloped the surroundings. He clenched his hands, and the purplish-black giant tree smashed towards Lin Xian. Bang! The void instantly exploded, and cracks appeared in the space. This attack was very close to the attack of a venerable one. At the same time, the black demon tree also waved its branches and turned into a giant python that pounced towards Lin Xian. It was densely packed and covered the sky, making one's scalp tingle. In an instant, Lin Xian felt a terrifying pressure. In particular, the purplish-black giant tree above his head made his body tremble slightly. Pressure, the pressure of life and death. This time, Lin Xian felt the pressure. However, he was not afraid at all. In fact, he was a little happy. The reason he chose to fight was to break through under pressure. With a long roar, Lin Xian pulled out the Wind Shadow Sword and activated the fledgling sword soul with all his strength, slashing out. Fierce Wind Blade. This sword was as fast as the wind and as fierce as fire. Wherever the sword light passed, the void was twisted. Lin Xian's wind concept had reached perfection, so his comprehension was far greater than before. There were many types of wind, and this sword was the fierce wind blade. It had the speed of the wind and was filled with a blazing aura. It was just right to restrain the opponent's wood-type martial arts. Whoosh whoosh. The sword chi slashed down, instantly burning the black demon tree trunks that filled the sky. When the black tree trunks came into contact with the fierce wind blade, they were immediately set on fire and flew back with a roar. After dealing with the threat around him, Lin Xian did not relax. He looked at the purplish-black giant tree falling from the sky with a grave expression. Two sword lights shot out from his eyes. It was extremely terrifying. Found it, Lin Xian was delighted. He had found the opponent's flaw. All martial arts had flaws, and Black Demon Cliff's move was no exception. However, this flaw was hidden very well. Ordinary people would not be able to see through it. However, Lin Xian's soul power was outstanding, and he had rich battle experience. He could naturally see through it. However, when he stabbed out with the Wind Shadow sword, he realized that it was not easy to hit this flaw. Gritting his teeth, he turned into a sword light and rushed out. Sword of Nirvana, black sword chi gushed out, as if it could take away all life. Moreover, this sword chi contained the power of the fledgling sword soul, which could destroy everything. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The closer he got to the purplish-black giant tree, the stronger the pressure Lin Xian felt. It was as if he was going to explode. Fortunately, he had the fledgling sword soul. The black sword chi pierced through the purplish-black light and quickly penetrated deeper. Boom! The power inside was even more terrifying. In an instant, it made Lin Xian's body tremble. The red lotus armor on his body formed a strong defense, but the power still made him bleed from the corner of his mouth. He suffered internal injuries. Ah! Lin Xian roared as his black hair danced wildly. He merged with his body and rushed into the sky. Bang! In the next moment, he collided with the purplish-black giant tree. The sword of Nirvana showed its power, causing the purplish-black giant tree to lose its life. At the same time, the black sword chi was extremely sharp and quickly cut in all directions. Crack, crack! Lin Xian flew out, and the giant tree that covered the sky was also torn into pieces. Kid, you have some ability, but die! Black Demon Cliff took this opportunity to appear behind Lin Xian. He formed a seal and quickly dropped it. He saw that the death flower behind Lin Xian had dimmed, as if it was about to disappear. No one could escape from the flower of death. How did he do it? He Muya was shocked in his heart. Killing intent surged in his eyes as he charged forward once more. He wanted to take advantage of Lin Xian's weakness to quickly kill him. When Lin Xian saw He Muya, his eyes spewed flames of anger. He suppressed his injuries while quickly slashing out with the slaughter sword. Blood-colored sword chi surged, filled with madness and bloodthirst as it slashed towards He Muya. The void trembled as if it was about to shatter. This sword was extremely violent. Moreover, it contained Lin Xian's intense killing intent, causing the slaughter sword to tremble. Puff, puff, puff. The void was torn apart. As the blood-colored sword, chi instantly sliced apart the black mist around He Muya. The sword soul's aura pierced his skin, causing him to tremble. Nirvana's sword. Before the first sword landed, another sword rose. The Black Death sword chi was vast and mighty like the long river of hell, eerie and terrifying. This Nirvana sword had once absorbed the death aura in the 100 Graves taboo array. Now that it had devoured the death flower, it had become even stronger. The aura of Nirvana caused He Muya to tremble. He roared and used all his strength to activate the embryonic form of his martial soul to resist. The small black tree in front of his chest bloomed with light. Black chi revolved around it, resisting the two-sword chi. The two-sword chi of Nirvana and Slaughter were blocked, as if they had fallen into a quagmire. However, the embryonic form of the sword soul was unaffected, and it crashed into He Muya's body. He Muya screamed as the defense in front of his chest was torn apart. 2 sword marks appeared, and it was a ghastly sight. Lin Xian held his sword with both hands and quickly rushed forward to engage in close combat. He was like a demon god, and the more he fought, the more courageous he became. He waved his 2 swords, and the embryonic form of the dragon sword soul roared, unleashing its power to the extreme. He Muya was stunned by this domineering aura and could only passively defend. However, Lin Xian's embryonic form of the sword soul was too powerful, and every attack could injure him. Therefore, after a few moves, he was already heavily injured. In fact, this was very normal because the dragon sword soul was an offensive saint art between heaven and earth, and it was far superior to ordinary martial souls. Therefore, Even though Lin Xian's cultivation was behind He Muya's, his actual combat power was stronger than his opponent's. However, He Muya did not know this. He was very sullen now. He was a prodigy, and he was invincible in the Sand region, but now he was being suppressed by a youth whose cultivation was far behind his. This made him feel humiliated. In the distance, those martial artists who were hiding to watch the battle were even more stunned. Lin Xian actually had the upper hand, which was beyond their expectations. Especially those martial artists from the Blackwood Fort. They were even more in disbelief. Impossible! This must be an illusion. Lin Xian held his two swords and operated the embryonic form of the sword soul. Terrifying sword qi spread out in all directions. At this moment, he was completely immersed in the wonderful use of the dragon sword soul, and every sword was full of spirituality and power. Die! He Muya roared as if he had gone mad. He formed a strange seal with both hands and urged the embryonic form of the black tree martial soul. Bang! A shocking power exploded, and Lin Xian was blasted away. Blood flowed out of He Muya's body and poured into the small black tree. The small black tree was nourished by the blood and began to grow crazily, becoming incomparably huge in an instant. Moreover, there was a flower on it, which looked like a flower of death. At this moment, the flower petals bloomed, and a black ball condensed in the center. The power inside flowed crazily, and every trace was frightening. Forbidden technique, Death Ray. He Muya roared and urged the small tree with all his strength. Suddenly, the black ball of light rotated and shot out a black beam of light. Not good. It's a forbidden technique. It's too difficult to use it now. Far away, the elders of the Blackwood Fort were shocked. They wanted to stop it, but found that it was too late. At this moment, Lin Xian felt the threat of death, which was even more intense than the death ray. He urged the red lotus armor to the extreme, and at the same time combined the two swords in his hands, forming a red and black sword. Great Dragon Slash. Lin Xian's arm fell, and he slashed out with his sword. Sword chi surged like a true dragon's roar, and the scene was terrifying. Sword chi shone, enveloping heaven and earth, and the death ray flew, carrying the power of hell. Boom! There was a shocking explosion, and the entire sky collapsed. Lin Xian and He Muya flew out at the same time. There was a fist-sized hole in Lin Xian's abdomen, and blood flowed out. That was the power of the death ray. Not only did it shatter the red lotus armor, but it also heavily injured him. On the opposite side, He Muya was also in a miserable state. The sword chi on his body almost split him apart. Chapter 6:47. The shocking attack caused both Lin Xian and Lin Xian to suffer heavy injuries. Lin Xian was pierced by the death ray, while He Muya had a terrifying sword wound on his chest, which almost split him in half. Lin Xian stopped himself from retreating and quickly used the immortality chant to suppress his wounds. Then his eyes emitted a shocking light. It was like a sword energy that swept in all directions. Staring coldly at He Muya in the distance, Lin Xian charged forward again. The battle just now made his blood boil. He felt a hidden power awakening in his body, and the great dragon sword seemed to be more spiritual than before. Seeing the effect of the battle, how could Lin Xian give up? He roared and charged forward like a god of war. At this moment, although Lin Xian was severely injured, he became more courageous as the battle went on. The sword in his hand emitted a dazzling light, and streaks of sword energy flew out, forming a curtain of light that swept down. Violent energy surged, and a large amount of yellow sand was swept up. Every sword could split a huge mountain. Sword of Slaughter, Sword of Nirvana, The two killer moves were used at the same time, sealing off a part of the sky. Lin Xian charged forward, not even leaving himself a way out. Therefore, he was prepared to die in this battle. Only in this way could he completely stimulate the great dragon sword soul's battle intent. He Muya was severely injured, and he was extremely shocked. He had a trace of retreating, but now he was forced to do so by Lin Xian's aura. However, as a prodigy, his pride did not allow him to escape halfway. With a furious roar, He Muya's eyes were filled with ruthlessness, and he also charged forward. The small black tree in front of his chest emitted a black fog, which shrouded him like a demonic cloud. At this moment, He Muya's entire body had turned into wood. It was very demonic. He threw out 81 punches in a row, and the terrifying energy was like the Milky Way, vast and mighty. It was as if millions of divine mountains had crashed into each other, causing a huge crack in the sky. However, Lin Xian's aura was too fierce, especially when he fully activated the great dragon sword soul. His combat strength was extremely powerful. The sword energy was like a dragon, tearing apart the fist technique that filled the sky and slashing towards He Muya. Clang! Countless black branches grew out of Blackwood Cliff's body like demonic tentacles, blocking the attack. Furthermore, the sound of metal and stone trembling could be heard. Just the aftermath of the sound caused countless cracks to appear on the ground, spreading in all directions. It was obvious how terrifying this attack was. Lin Xian was shocked. He didn't know what He Muya's martial spirit was. It was so strange that it could block his attack. However, he didn't need to know. In terms of battle prowess, there was no martial soul that could compete with the great dragon sword soul. With a dragon's roar and sword cry, the long sword exerted strength once more, tearing apart Blackwood Cliff's defenses and slashing him flying. This time, the wound was even more terrifying. He Muya roared madly as the branches and leaves on his body swayed. The shadow of the huge tree of death spread out and rushed out of the void, pressing down on Lin Xian. Humph! Lin Xian coldly snorted, and the great dragon sword spirit erupted. A phantom of a true dragon soared into the sky, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, wanting to tear the sky apart. Boom! In an instant, the tree of death was destroyed and quickly dissipated. He Muya's face was pale as he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. Impossible! He couldn't believe that the embryonic form of his martial spirit that he was so proud of was defeated so easily. This time, there was no fighting spirit in his heart. His entire aura disappeared as he fell downwards. Lin Xian's long sword emitted a large amount of light as it slashed downwards. "Junior, how dare you?" An angry roar sounded, followed by several figures rushing over from afar. They arrived in front of Lin Xian in an instant. Boom! One of them made a move. A glowing fist fell downwards like a mountain, intercepting Lin Xian's sword chi. Clang! Puff! The fist collided with the fist and resisted for a moment before it was cut in half. What? Several people were shocked. They were the elders of Blackwood Fort. Their cultivation was very strong, and they had all condensed the embryonic form of their martial spirits. However, they couldn't even block a single strike from Lin Xian, which made them extremely shocked. The martial artists who were watching the battle from afar were even more shocked. No wonder Lin Xian could defeat Blackwood Cliff. His attack power was too terrifying. Block it for me. Two elders made a move, releasing extremely dazzling attacks. Only then were they able to block the sword chi. At this moment, another elder made a move, taking Blackwood Cliff away. At this moment, Blackwood Cliff was seriously injured and unconscious. The three Blackwood Fort's elders were solemn, and their faces were full of anger. Their genius disciple had lost, and it was a crushing defeat. They couldn't accept it. Looking at Lin Xian, the three of them were seething with murderous intent. At this moment, Lin Xian was also seriously injured. The wound on his abdomen was bleeding again. The three of them pondered. This was the best time to kill Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian's sword strike just now made their hearts tremble. That casual sword strike actually required two of them to join hands to resist. If Lin Xian attacked with all his strength without any regard for his life, perhaps the three of them wouldn't be able to take him down. Lin Xian looked at the three of them. The aura of the sword spirit revolved around his body, making him look like a god of war. He came here to fight, so it didn't matter who he fought. With a sneer, Lin Xian made a move with his longsword. Boom! The entire void boiled and fell into a frenzy, as if an angry dragon was roaring. In an instant, the three elders felt that their lives were in great danger. "Let's go!" The three of them were terrified. They didn't dare to stay, and quickly left with Blackwood Cliff. Facing Lin Xian, the three of them didn't even have the courage to fight. Looking at the sound of fleeing, Lin Xian laughed. He also turned into a stream of light and disappeared into the horizon. In the distance, everyone was shocked. Lin Xian was too powerful. Not only did he defeat Blackwood Cliff, but he also suppressed the three elders to the point that they couldn't raise their heads. Perhaps soon, Lin Xian would be able to surpass many young experts. After defeating Blackwood Cliff, Lin Xian came to the depths of the desert. He found a safe place and began to heal his injuries. Although he won this battle, he was seriously injured, especially that death ray, which almost made him faint. Fortunately, he had a powerful cultivation method like the longevity art and a 1,000-year-old spiritual herb. Only then was he confident that he could heal his body in an instant. Half a 1,000-year-old spiritual herb entered his mouth. Lin Xian drank a cup of spirit wine and then quickly circulated the longevity art. At the same time, he used the great dragon sword soul to remove the death aura in his body. 2 hours later, his injuries were 70 to 80% better, and the death aura in his body was completely removed. This battle allowed his great dragon sword soul to fuse again and display an even more powerful battle strength. Lin Xian estimated that he had already fused about 60% of it. His strength had also increased a lot compared to before. Still not enough. Lin Xian clenched his fists. He wasn't satisfied. His goal was a real martial soul. After resting for another hour, Lin Xian's body had recovered 90%. He turned into a sword light and soared into the sky. This time, he ran in another direction. Before coming, he was already able to find out the location of those geniuses. This time, he was going for Yan Qitian. That youth who was like a supreme demon king left a deep impression on him. According to the information he obtained, Yan Qitian was in the Merry Forest, 100 miles west of Quicksand City. Chapter 648. Merry Forest was the largest and most carefree place in the entire Sand region. It was the place where countless martial artists lived their lives, and Yan Qitian was here. Lin Xian ran at full speed, turning into a stream of light as he rushed over from the depths of the Sunset Desert. In the middle of the desert, a patch of green land appeared. The green lake was like a gemstone embedded in the ground. The surrounding trees swayed, producing rustling sounds. Beside the lake, a group of beauties dressed in light muslin were playing. Around them were good wine and delicious food. How was this a desert? It was more like heaven on earth. Lin Xian descended from the sky, attracting countless gazes. There was no other way. He was too eye-catching. His clothes were tattered, stained with blood, and surrounded by killing intent. No matter how one looked at it, he did not look like he was here to enjoy himself. "Friend, what are you here for?" A purple-clothed middle-aged man appeared, looking at Lin Xian, and said in a deep voice. The power behind Mary Forest was very strong, and even the city lord had to be respectful. Therefore, they were not afraid of people causing trouble. Looking for someone, Lin Xian said. He did not want to have a conflict with Mary Forest. Looking for someone? The purple-clothed, middle-aged man frowned. He could feel the powerful aura on Lin Xian's body. That was the power of the martial soul's embryonic form. Who are you looking for? He asked in a deep voice. For a genius martial artist like Lin Xian, his future was limitless. He did not want to offend him. Yan Qitian, the purple-clothed, middle-aged man's pupils shrank. Yan Qitian was actually looking for the Sand Region's prodigy. The surrounding beauties were also surprised. Their beautiful eyes roamed over Lin Xian's body. Okay, I'll bring you there. He turned and quickly left. Lin Xian restrained his aura and followed behind. This oasis was not big, only about a third of Quicksand City. However, as Lin Xian walked, he became more and more shocked. Mary Forest was bigger than it looked from the outside. At least Lin Xian walked for so long and saw countless palaces, but he still did not reach the end. Finally, the purple-clothed middle-aged man stopped in front of a bamboo forest. At this point, Lin Xian could be sure that he was no longer in the desert, but in a strange space. This was because the scene in front of him was not a desert at all. It was more like an imperial courtyard. This should be a special small space like a rare treasure auction. I can go in by myself, Lin Xian said. The middle-aged man nodded and left. Up ahead, there was a young man with his back facing Lin Xian. He was sitting in the bamboo forest holding a wine jug in his right hand and a beautiful woman in his left. He looked very carefree and happy. Lin Xian looked at the figure in front of him and did not move. Instead, he frowned slightly. They roared towards the sky. Giant python, god wolf, lion vulture, Cheongqi. It was as if ancient beasts had come back to life, causing the whole earth to tremble. Nearby, the martial artists were terrified. They could not see the scene, but they knew that the existence in the bamboo forest was Yan Qitian. Damn, someone is actually fighting with Yan Qitian. Who is it? He is so powerful. Could it be another genius? The martial artists here were all famous. They all knew how powerful Yan Qitian was. He could be said to be an invincible existence below the honorable realm. But now, someone actually dared to challenge him. They urgently wanted to know. But the entire bamboo forest was covered by demonic clouds, blocking all sight. In the bamboo forest, the sword Qi spirit beasts and demonic soldiers fought fiercely. It was very tragic. Fortunately, these were all formed by spiritual energy. The strength of these spirit beasts and demonic soldiers was related to Lin Xian and Yan Qitian. In the end, the spirit beasts and demonic soldiers perished together and dissipated in the air. You are not bad. You are worthy of me making a move. Yan Qitian stopped laughing, and a sinister smile appeared on his face. Then, a monstrous demonic qi erupted. He punched out. Boom. The originally peaceful bamboo forest suddenly became violent. In an instant, the entire bamboo forest turned into ashes. The entire space was filled with demonic qi. It was pitch black. Swoosh. A sword light, like the sun, pierced through the darkness and illuminated the void. This sword qi was very dazzling. It was like the scorching sun in the sky, emitting endless energy. Lin Xian slashed out with his sword, splitting the demonic clouds in the sky into two. Then, he quickly stabbed out. Boom. The sword tip and demonic fist collided. The surrounding space was like a broken mirror, cracking. Destruction. Slaughter. On the long sword, two forces surged out, causing the entire space to lose its color. Half of it was as black as ink, and the other half was as demonic as blood. The aura of death and slaughter filled the air, destroying everything. Demonic world. Yen Chitian laughed evilly. Demonic runes flickered on his body. He punched out. Demonic chi turned into a huge fist and mercilessly punched out. Chapter 649. Demonic World. Yen Qiqian's body glowed with crimson inscriptions. It was as if he had the body of a demon god. He took a step forward and rushed forward. He was like a heavenly blade that mercilessly tore apart the air in front of him. Rolling demonic clouds with boundless darkness danced wildly in the surroundings. With a punch, heaven and earth lost its color. This punch was very violent and full of demonic power. Perhaps even the older generation would not dare to take it head-on. The terrifying fist wind shattered everything around it. Like a demonic dragon, it roared ferociously and rushed towards Lin Xian. Feeling this powerful demonic chi, Lin Xian was shocked. He roared and shattered the demonic clouds above his head. Sword chi crisscrossed. The power of the embryonic form of the sword soul spread out, stirring up the surroundings. On the sword tip, a beautiful red lotus appeared. Sword transformation red lotus. A bright red lotus flower quietly bloomed, spinning rapidly in the air. As it descended, every petal contained a powerful energy, capable of easily splitting apart a huge mountain. The red lotus rotated and instantly shattered the void. Perhaps no one below the Martial Saint realm would be able to escape. Boom! The red lotus sword shadow landed and blasted on the demonic fist. Suddenly, a stormy wave was set off. The whole ground was torn apart. Rows of chi waves spread out like a tsunami. The earth trembled and the sky shook. The terrifying energy crushed everything in the surroundings into dust. The spectators in the distance were like frightened birds and beasts. They quickly retreated. In the distance, more experts rushed over. They were the guards of the Merry Woods. At this moment, they were attracted by the violent energy. Looking at the scene in front of them, everyone's face was gloomy and the corners of their mouths twitched. Master has ordered all of you to retreat. There is no need to care about the matters here. At this moment, the purple-clothed middle-aged man who led Lin Xian appeared and said coldly, "Yes." The surrounding black-clothed martial artists respectfully said, and then quickly disappeared. The purple-clothed middle-aged man also flew backwards. He came to a safe place and silently watched the battle. "Ha ha, good. I didn't expect you to have such strength. Take another punch from me." Yen Chitian laughed arrogantly. Demonic clouds rolled on his body. The red glazed demonic runes were like blood lines that pierced his body. 2 pairs of black wings sprouted from his back. They were about 30 meters long, translucent like black jade, and emitted a demonic radiance. Demonic wings. With a low shout, Yen Chitian instantly disappeared. So fast. Lin Xian's pupils shrank. He used the illusory demon steps and quickly retreated. However, he was still a step too late. The heavenly demonic feather opposite him was not any weaker than the earth tear movement technique. The next moment, Yen Chitian came to Lin's side. His violent fist was like a demonic hammer as it rapidly smashed towards Lin's head. Pung! There was nothing fancy about this punch. The terrifying physical strength directly shattered the air, and even the void began to tremble. Lin Xian felt the threat of death. This feeling made all the hairs on his body stand on end. He believed that if he was hit, he would definitely be seriously injured. With a long whistle, the red lotus battle armor appeared, forming a lotus imprint at the center. Clang! When the terrifying fist landed on the lotus imprint, it was as if it had hit a golden bell. A sonorous and powerful sound spread out in all directions. The sound wave was like a knife, cutting the void apart. Taking advantage of this gap, Lin Xian quickly retreated and escaped the attack range of the demonic fist. However, the terrifying fist wind still caused his blood to boil. After retreating 10 feet, Lin Xian stopped. Then he turned into a sword light and rushed over. On his body, the power of the great dragon sword soul was released, and his fighting spirit was high. Yan Qitian was very powerful, like a supreme demon king. His strength was even stronger than He Muya. Fortunately, Lin Xian's great dragon sword soul had also been upgraded. Now that it had merged to 60%, its attack power could be said to be extremely powerful. A sword light was like a graceful swan, vast and mighty in the void, slashing towards Yan Qitian's left rib. That was one of his flaws. The demonic wings on Yan Qitian's back vibrated, and he turned into an afterimage and disappeared from the spot. The terrifying sword chi missed, and a deep abyss appeared on the ground. It's useless. You can't keep up with my speed. Yan Qitian crossed his arms and floated in the air. A sinister smile appeared on his face. Is that so? Seems like you are very confident in your speed. Lin Xian raised his head and looked at the void. Humph, my demonic wings have the maximum speed. No one in the same realm can catch up with me. Yan Qitian was very confident. However, in the next moment, his body stiffened, his pupils shrank, and a look of shock appeared on his face, because Lin Xian was still in front of him. On his back, a pair of huge wind and thunder wings shone brightly. Yan Qitian's face was gloomy. The demonic wings flapped, and he used the maximum speed and disappeared quickly. Lin Xian chuckled. The wind and thunder wings on his back flapped, and he disappeared as well. Impossible! Yan Qitian was shocked. He realized that no matter where he appeared, Lin Xian could always catch up with him. The distance between the two was only 50 feet. 50 feet. For experts like them, this distance could be completely ignored. Yan Qitian's face was gloomy, and a look of anger appeared in his eyes. He did not expect that Lin Xian could only use this kind of skill to catch up with his speed. Thinking of the words from before, Yan Qitian felt that he had been played. Demonic field. He roared. The surrounding demonic chi surged, sealing the surroundings. Suddenly, a special space of 30 feet was formed. Lin Xian's body sank down. He felt a huge force on his body, as if it was going to crush him. Boom! He landed on the ground, and two terrifying deep pits appeared. However, the terrifying force on his body did not disappear. Instead, it became heavier. Red lotus armor. Condense! Lin Xian growled. The air around him surged and quickly formed a bright red battlesuit that covered his body. Lin Xian used his strongest defense to resist the strange force around him. It's useless. Don't struggle. In my demonic field, I can increase the gravity to 30 times. You can't resist at all. Yan Qitian laughed evilly. He was like a supreme demon king, looking down at Lin Xian. Lin Xian gritted his teeth. He was in great pain, and all the blood in his body was about to solidify. He had experienced 10 times the gravity before, and that was still within his tolerance. However, 30 times the gravity was too much for him to bear. Even if he had the phantom of the Red Lotus armor, it would not be enough, unless it was the real Red Lotus armor. In an instant, Lin Xian's body cracked. Several cracks appeared on his strong body. Blood spurted out, and he was instantly covered in blood. Great Dragon Sword Soul, shatter it. He gritted his teeth and slashed out. This slash contained the essence of the Great Dragon Sword Soul, and it slashed out in all directions. The Great Dragon Sword Soul was extremely mysterious. It was an offensive saint art between heaven and earth. Back then, it could even destroy something as illusory as the soul, let alone the gravitational field. A sword chi as thick as a water bucket turned into a long dragon and circled around him. It immediately cut open the gravitational field. Lin Xian felt the powerful pressure disappear. He heaved a sigh of relief. He quickly used the art of longevity to repair his damaged body. The surrounding spiritual chi surged, turning into endless light that entered his body and repaired his damaged body. Soon, the cracks on Lin Xian's body healed quickly, and he was as good as new. This is impossible. You can actually cut open my heavenly demon field. Yan Qitian was shocked. Chapter 650. Lin Xian's sword split opened the heavenly devil domain, causing Yan Qitian to be dumbfounded. One had to know that his heavenly demon field was an abnormally powerful existence. Martial artists of the same level were unable to break it. However, Lin Xian had easily split it open. Yan Qitian was enraged. The demonic aura on his body kept rolling like an angry demon king. Kid, don't be too proud. The heavenly demon field can not only increase gravity, you will see its true power soon. In the next moment, the heavenly demon field trembled rapidly. Suddenly, the demonic aura surged and increased by 10 times. The wind whistled, and the demonic flames danced. The world was dark like a demon's den. Countless demonic beasts, demonic soldiers, and demonic generals appeared in the demonic aura, roaring ferociously. A powerful aura was awakened. The terrifying energy caused the surroundings to tremble. Yan Qitian was indeed the top genius of the slaughter zone. The heavenly demon art he cultivated was an earth-grade martial art. It was very powerful. Now, he had cultivated it successfully. The heavenly demon field was one of the consummate skills. Yan Qitian had used the heavenly demon field to kill countless experts of the older generation. He had even sealed a few powerful souls into the heavenly demon field. It could be said that he was a true young demon king. Kid, you can die now. Yan Qitian merged into the demonic aura and disappeared. Then the demonic beasts and generals roared. The demonic aura was like smoke wanting to drown Lin Xian. Lin Xian held a long sword in his hand and stood proudly. His black hair fluttered in the wind. He was extraordinary. His entire person was like a peerless divine sword, unstoppable. Looking at the demonic beasts and generals rolling over, Lin Xian did not have any fear. His eyes were as vast as the stars, blooming with blazing battle intent. His eyes were like the most dazzling sword light piercing through the void. A powerful sword spirit aura erupted from his body, sweeping through the world and instantly tearing the sky above. This aura was too shocking. It was as if it could pierce through the 9 heavens and the netherworld, causing countless people to tremble. The great dragon sword spirit was an offensive saint technique between heaven and earth. At this moment, in Lin Xian's hands, it had begun to take shape. The terrifying aura caused the surrounding to change color. At the same time, the bright red lotus armor on his body made clanging noises. Like a translucent ruby, it flickered with light and made him look like a celestial king. The heavenly demon field mercilessly fell, like the flames of hell, pulsating. Back, the roars of the demonic beasts and demonic generals shook the heavens and the earth. Like a tsunami, wave after wave crashed towards Lin Xian. Slash! Lin Xian angrily roared. Holding the slaughter sword, he quickly slashed out. Windslayer! Blood-red sword chi surged and instantly turned into a blood-red hurricane, rushing forward at high speed. Violent winds blew and blood rained down. Countless cries of ghosts and howls of wolves resounded. It was like a scene from hell. This aura was extremely shocking. It was not weaker than the heavenly demon domain at all. Although the heavenly demon field was an earth-tier martial art, the cultivation method in Lin Xian's hands was even stronger. He possessed an offensive saint technique, like the great dragon sword spirit, and his battle prowess was astonishing. Moreover, his longevity secret was definitely above the earth-tier martial arts, so this sword strike was extremely violent. Boom! Countless demonic soldiers were instantly killed by the hurricane blade, turning into demonic chi and disappearing. The blood-red hurricane was like a murderous aura, crazily sweeping in all directions. Wherever it passed, the demonic chi dissipated. Roar! A pitch-black saber light was like a long river of the netherworld, quickly slashing down in the void. On the other side, the black spear was like a spear of the netherworld, piercing through the void and piercing towards the blood-red hurricane. Two powerful and violent forces bombarded the blood-red hurricane, instantly causing it to tremble violently. The terrifying astral wind was like a sharp blade, ruthlessly slicing the surroundings. The air was cut open, and the earth was cut open like an abyss. Finally, the blood-red hurricane exploded with a boom. Humph! In my heavenly demon field, all attacks are futile. Yan Qitian's cold voice rang out in the demonic clouds. He was like a supreme demonic ancestor, sitting on the clouds and looking down. Then I will break your heavenly demon field. Lin Xian's voice was sonorous and powerful. His figure swayed and quickly rushed towards the demonic clouds above. Roar! A ferocious python that was 100 feet long, covered in black scales that shone with cold light. It was completely formed from demonic chi. At this moment, under the control of Yan Qitian, it opened its bloody mouth and bit towards Lin Xian, as if it wanted to swallow him whole. In addition, the demonic generals on both sides also attacked. The black saber light and the netherworld spear quickly attacked. The three of them joined forces to kill Lin Xian here. It's just a pile of waste. Watch me break it. Lin Xian sneered. His body turned into a sword light, instantly increasing his speed. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The death saber and the netherworld spear pierced through the void, shattering it. However, Lin Xian had already arrived at another place. Dragon countersteps 7 steps. He let out a long roar and took a step forward. Dong! The sole of his foot stepped on the void. It was like thunder, and a terrifying sound spread out in all directions. Boom! The 100 feet long python and the demonic generals trembled, and cracks appeared on the surface of their bodies. The martial artists who were watching the battle from afar had a drastic change in expression, and they kept retreating, because that step just now seemed to have stepped on their hearts, making them feel like their bodies were about to explode. What kind of footwork is that? It's so terrifying. It can actually affect the martial artists' hearts directly. Countless people retreated in fear, not daring to stay any longer. This kind of battle was too dangerous. If they were not careful, they would lose their lives here. However, before they could leave, a second terrifying sound wave came again. Their hearts trembled violently, as if they were about to split open. Those weaker martial artists directly fell from the sky to the ground. In the heavenly demon field, Lin Xian took a second step. The entire heavenly demon field trembled. The 100 feet long python and the demonic generals had countless cracks on their bodies, as if they would shatter at any moment. This is your demonic chi? Can't even withstand a single blow. Lin Xian sneered, his cold gaze looking above the demonic clouds. 10,000 demonic generals attack. Yan Qitian's voice was cold with a trace of anger. Roar! The demonic creatures roared in all directions, and the sound shook. The surrounding mountains exploded, and countless terrifying cracks appeared on the ground. In an instant, countless figures pounced at Lin Xian. If they were hit, even a half-step supremacy would be killed. Third step. Lin Xian was expressionless, looking at the demonic creatures that were pouncing at him. He took another step. Boom, boom, boom. The air trembled and split open. Rows of qi waves rolled out in all directions, roaring like the sea waves. The momentum was terrifying. A huge light claw appeared under Lin Xian's feet. It was a dragon-shaped claw. This claw was too terrifying, and it caused the entire void to boil. The terrifying energy spread out in all directions, causing the 100-feet-long demonic generals and the countless demonic creatures that were pouncing at him to split open. It was as if they were torn apart by a ruthless force. One step, 10,000 demonic annihilation. This scene was too terrifying. The martial artists in the distance were stunned. Even the purple-robed, middle-aged man was shocked. This kind of combat skill was truly heaven-defying. Dragon Rebel step? Not bad indeed. However, I will not let you take another step. Yan Qitian's entire body was glowing with scarlet demonic patterns. He looked like a demon god as he shouted, "Fire Demon Zhu Tian, come out!" Chapter 651. Fire Demon Zhu Tian, come out! Yan Qitian's voice reverberated in the surroundings. Suddenly, the demonic clouds rumbled, and a figure appeared. The figure was slender and had flames dancing all over his body. He was like a furnace that wanted to burn everything. The flaming figure held a spear and looked like a fire god descending. Fire Demon Zhu Tian. Lin Xian frowned slightly. He could sense that the fire demon opposite him was much stronger than the demonic generals from before. Not only was it powerful, but the fire demon before him was also very agile. It was not as stiff as the demonic generals. It was as though he had a soul. In fact, this fire demon did have a soul, but it was just a fragment of his spiritual sea. This was formed by the souls of the powerful martial artists that Yan Qitian had killed and the demon general. It was very powerful. It was not weaker than a prodigy at all. Roar! The fire demon roared, and the flames on his body rumbled like a volcano that was awakening. Immediately, the blazing energy exploded, and the sea of fire spread out, burning fiercely. The entire space seemed to have turned into a world of flames. Even the air was filled with high temperature. The air evaporated, and the ground cracked. Fire snakes slithered and crackled. The flaming spear stabbed out, and the heat waves surged. The temperature could easily burn an ultimate warrior to ashes. Before the spear arrived, the flames came first. Lin Xian felt the heat waves and quickly activated the Red Lotus battlesuit to form a bright red energy shield that blocked the sea of fire. At the same time, he tapped his foot and stepped out again. Dragon defying 7 steps. 4th step. The void was torn apart as the dragon claw struck out. Vast energy surged and was accompanied by the sound of thunder. Clang! This foot stepped on the spear, and there was a metallic sound. Countless flames danced and surrounded the light dragon claw. A low dragon roar sounded, and an even more violent energy formed under Lin Xian's feet and pushed the spear back. Tung! 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 The fire demon took 3 steps back and created 3 deep lava pits on the ground. He roared, and the spear in his hand turned into a fire dragon that charged over. The fire dragon appeared and burned everything. It roared and swallowed Lin Xian instantly. TSK, TSK, TSK. The terrifying flames quickly roasted Lin Xian, wanting to burn him to ashes. Lin Xian was in the middle of the flames. He raised his head to the sky and roared. It was as if he had been reborn from the flames. He turned into a bolt of lightning and rushed out. 5th step. With a resounding voice, Lin Xian took another step forward. Incomparably valiant energy gushed out from under his feet, like a flash flood, as heavy as a mountain. he quickly stomped down. Crack! The fiery dragon cried out, quickly breaking apart, turning into flames. Lin Xian rushed out, bringing with him an extremely terrifying power as he quickly slashed out with his sword. Moonbreaker! The blood-red sword Qi whistled and condensed into a blood moon that swept out quickly. Everywhere it passed, the sky was torn apart and a sea of blood spread out. Boom! Fire Demon blocked with his spear and was forced back by this force. Lin Xian let out a long howl and stepped forward again. With this step, he used the thunderstorm wings and instantly appeared above the fire demon. Then he stepped on the fire demon's skull. Ka, ka, ka. The fire demon's skull let out the sound of bones shattering before exploding. The entire body shattered into countless fiery crystals that scattered on the ground. The power of this step was too strong. It was even stronger than the previous 5 steps combined. It directly killed the fire demon. Mountain demon Yan Qitian roared, but he still did not make a move. Boom! The earth trembled and swayed nonstop. A huge figure appeared. He was moving on the ground like a small mountain. That figure was extremely tall, like an iron tower. His entire body was covered in demonic qi, forming a black battle armor. In his hand, there was a mountain-splitting axe that was like a door. A peerlessly powerful aura that was as heavy as a mountain surged out. The entire space seemed to be unable to withstand it. Heavy, too heavy. This figure was like a demonic mountain that pressed down on everyone's hearts. Even the martial artists who were watching from afar could feel this shocking pressure. Die! The mountain demon spat out a vague voice. It was like thunder, piercing through the sky and rolling over. Lin Xian also felt this pressure. His eyes blossomed as he quickly used the 7th step. Buzz! The void trembled as a dragon-shaped phantom appeared, following Lin Xian's footsteps. Boom! The mountain demon laughed sinisterly. He raised the gigantic axe in his hand and collided with the dragon-shaped phantom. In the next moment, a deafening sound was heard. It was as if thousands of lightning bolts had exploded, causing the surroundings to tremble. The earth cracked, and the sky shook as if the world was about to be destroyed. What? Lin Xian's pupils constricted as he was shocked. His 7th step did not break through the opponent's defense. This surprised him. One had to know that the 7th step was extremely powerful, far surpassing the previous 6 steps. Even so, it did not have any effect. It seemed that this mountain demon was even stronger than the fire demon from before. Hee. The mountain demon let out a sinister laugh. His arm shook, forming a powerful force that pushed Lin Xian back. Then his entire body exploded as he slashed down with his axe. Boom! The air split open as a violent wind blew. The entire ground split into 2. This axe was extremely powerful, as if it was going to split the entire space. Lin Xian's scalp went numb as he felt the threat of death. This attack was no weaker than He Mui's. What he needed was this kind of pressure. With a long roar, Lin Xian raised the slaughter sword in his hand and crazily circulated the great dragon sword soul. He wanted to take this attack head-on. What? Is that kid crazy? The martial artists in the distance exclaimed when they saw this scene. Even the purple-robed, middle-aged man shook his head. At this moment, the best way was to dodge with extreme speed. Above the demonic clouds, Yan Qitian was also slightly surprised. He thought that Lin Xian would use the thunderstorm wings to escape. He was even prepared to cut off Lin Xian's speed. However, the other party's choice was beyond his expectations. Humph! Idiot! You actually dare to fight the mountain demon? Yan Qitian sneered as a trace of mockery appeared in his eyes. Lin Xian was not crazy, nor was he an idiot. He naturally had his reasons for choosing to take the attack head-on. Firstly, when he set to fight, he wanted to experience the feeling of being on the edge of life and death. He wanted to break through in the extreme battle. Moreover, he was confident that he could withstand this attack. Flying rainbow. The sword Qi was like a rainbow as it slashed upwards. This sword contained the power of the fledgling form of the sword soul. It brought along a large curtain of light as it poured out. A heavy pressure came as the sky-splitting axe mercilessly fell. The violent energy caused Lin Xian's bones to creak. Clang! Rumble! An earth-shattering sound rang out, causing the nearby lake to explode and setting off thousands of waves. The surrounding mountain peaks shattered, and countless rocks flew everywhere. This attack was too terrifying. Lin Xian felt an extremely strong power quickly enter his arm through the long sword. In the next moment, his arm trembled, and even the red lotus battle armor became dim. Crack! His bones let out a soft sound, as they almost broke. Ah! Slash! Lin Xian roared, as his black hair fluttered. The great dragon sword soul in his body let out a dragon roar. As it bloomed with light, a surge of energy gushed out and instantly repaired Lin Xian's arm. At the same time, it brought him endless power. Boom! The sword Qi shone, releasing an even more dazzling light. It was like a rainbow surging as it knocked the sky-splitting axe away. Chapter 652. Lin Xian slashed out with his sword and sent his opponent's heaven-splitting axe flying. That's impossible. Yan Qitian was shocked. The mountain demon was extremely powerful, and even those geniuses didn't dare to face him head-on. However, the neighbor actually chose such a stupid method of fighting force with force, and even won. This shocked him. It seemed like he had underestimated his opponent. The mountain demon had a soul fragment. After being sent flying by the sword, he became furious. With a roar, demonic qi surged from his body. Holding the heaven-splitting axe with both hands, the mountain demon roared and slashed down again. This attack was even more violent than before. Bang! The sword light flashed like a rainbow. The mountain demon was sent flying again, creating a deep abyss in the ground. Roar! The mountain demon roared. His voice was like thunder, shattering the demonic clouds in the sky. Demonic qi surged from his entire body, forming strange patterns that were somewhat similar to Yan Qitian's. The demonic armor on his body shone continuously, and a shocking power surged out. In the end, the mountain demon gave up on the heaven-splitting axe and rushed towards Lin Xian. Bang! 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 The ground trembled and cracked open. Every step would create a 1,000-meter crack. The mountain demon was like a demonic mountain that moved quickly. Light flashed, and the void rumbled. It couldn't withstand it at all. Let's end this. Looking at the mountain demon, Lin Xian raised the slaughter sword. Slaughter red lotus. On the sword, a red lotus bloomed and danced in the air. The slaughter sword fell, and the demonic red lotus floated out and flew towards the mountain demon. The red lotus looked gentle, but it contained the power of the dragon sword soul, and also the aura of slaughter. It could be said that it was a flower of death. Poof! Wah! The red lotus sword qi enlarged in the air and landed on the mountain demon, covering him. In the next moment, countless red sword qi shot out and pierced the mountain demon's body. The mountain demon roared crazily. His entire body was hideous. The aura of slaughter made him crazy. But what made him even more terrified was the aura of the sword soul. The moment it entered his body, it destroyed his vitality. Screams rang out like the screams of ghosts, causing the surrounding martial artists to tremble. Not long after, the mountain demon collapsed with a loud crash. His body was covered with dense sword scars, which was a ghastly sight. Yan Qitian stood on top of the devil cloud. his handsome face turned somewhat malevolent. His two great devil generals had actually been defeated, which made him abnormally furious. One had to know that fire demons and mountain demons were not ordinary demon generals. They all had soul fragments. Brat, you deserve to die. I'll kill you and refine you into my number one devil general. Yan Qitian's demonic palm was too terrifying, and his body was somewhat suppressing him. Ha! With a roar, the slaughter sword exploded and cut open Yan Qitian's palm. Blood splattered, and the terrifying sword's spirit embryonic form crazily rushed into Yan Qitian's body, destroying everything. Humph! Suppress for me! Yan Qitian was furious. The surrounding demonic aura surged, forming a 9-story demonic pagoda above his head, suppressing the power of the dragon sword spirit. Lin Xian seized the opportunity, and his long sword surged. In the sky, a blood-red sword appeared, and an ancient majestic aura filled the air. Earth-grade martial art. The purple-clothed middle-aged man's pupils shrank, and his face was filled with shock. He did not expect that Lin Xian also had an earth-grade martial art. Gale lightning sword. One sword mountain rivers break. Lin Xian held the slaughter sword and quickly slashed down. In the sky, a huge blood-red sword shadow fell and slammed into the 9-story demonic pagoda. Opening it up, rumble. Countless demonic clouds swept across the sky, and the ground sank. Blood rained down. This sword was too terrifying. Yan Qitian was equally shocked. He was sent flying by this sword shadow. Fortunately, he was protected by the heavenly demon field, or else he would have been killed. Earth-grade martial art. You really have an earth-grade martial art, Yan Qitian roared. He was careless, and he was injured. Thinking of this, he sneered. Kid, you are not the only one who has an earth-grade martial art. Heavenly demon field, nether spear. In the sky, demonic aura surged, crazily gathering in Yan Qitian's hand. In the next moment, a pitch-black spear appeared. The entire field was about 80 feet long, and the demonic runes on it shone brightly. Demonic flames surged, and the moment it appeared, it caused cracks to appear in the surrounding space. Kid, die, Yan Qitian grinned, and threw it out. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The nether spear flew out, piercing through the void. Lin Xian only saw a shadow flying in the air, and it was extremely fast. Before the attack arrived, Lin Xian felt a sharp aura rushing towards him. It hit the red lotus battle armor, and it gave off a clanking sound. Lin Xian felt a strong threat of death. This spear would definitely take his life. Chapter 653. The nether spear was a terrifying killing technique. It carried a monstrous demonic flame as it pierced towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian felt the threat of death. He once again used Gale lightning sword to resist the opponent's earth-tier martial art. In the sky, the huge blood-colored sword shadow condensed once again. The blood-colored patterns spread out and converged with a mysterious power. A terrifying aura spread out and enveloped the entire space. Lin Xian roared and reached out his palm to grab the sky. The golden palm enlarged and covered the sky as it grabbed the blood-colored sword. It was a terrifying scene. Lin Xian grabbed the Gale lightning sword and quickly slashed down. The Gale lightning sword whizzed down. Every sword chi was as thick as a mountain. A casual swing could pierce through the void. The blood-red Gale lightning sword danced in the air like a huge blood-colored heavenly sword. It was extremely powerful. Everywhere it passed, the void would shatter, and large areas would collapse. The sword carried an aura that could shatter mountains and rivers as it collided with the nether spear. The two collided and violent energy swept out in all directions. It was like a scene of destruction. The place where the bamboo forest was covered by blood-colored sword chi and rolling demonic clouds. It was chaotic. Not only that, the aftermath of the energy even affected the entire merry forest. The terrifying energy swept out in all directions. Its power was not inferior to a supremacy's attack. Fortunately, there were some peerless experts in the dark who helped to disperse the energy and protect the merry forest. However, the bamboo forest was completely destroyed. The ground level dropped by more than 10 times. In front, 2 figures retreated. They were in a sorry state. Lin Xian's face was pale. Using an earth-tier martial art consumed a lot of energy. Unless he became a supremacy, he could use it without limit. Buffed! Just as he came to a stop, a demonic pattern flashed and shot towards him with a flash of light as fast as lightning. In a panic, Lin Xian tried his best to twist his body. At the same time, he activated the Red Lotus armor to the extreme. However, the demonic pattern still pierced through his left shoulder. Buffed! Lin Xian was sent flying by the powerful impact, bringing with him a large cloud of blood. This change was very shocking, but it happened in an instant. Originally, they were evenly matched, but now Lin Xian was injured. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yan Qitian walked out from the berserk energy, gasping for breath. His face was abnormally pale, without a trace of blood. At the center of his forehead, a vertical devil tattoo that resembled an eye was gradually disappearing. There were still terrifying energy waves left on it. Obviously, the attack just now was launched by the Mageweth that resembled an eye. Looking ahead, Yan Qitian frowned. That attack from before had consumed a great deal of his energy. Originally, that was an attack that he could only use after reaching the Exalted Realm. At this moment, he had used it with the intention of killing his opponent with a single strike. However, Lin Xian's reaction was too fast. Originally, he had aimed for the heart, but now he had only injured the left shoulder. This was very different from what he had expected. Moreover, he didn't have the ability to use it again, unless he burned his spiritual energy. If that was the case, his vitality would be greatly damaged. Therefore, that was a method that would cause both sides to suffer. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he wouldn't use it. Now that he had crippled one of his opponent's arms, his chances of winning were very high. Kid, you have indeed exceeded my expectations, but it's all over now. Yan Qitian absorbed the surrounding devil chi, quickly recovering his body. Then he walked towards Lin Xian step by step. Lin Xian fell to the ground, his body trembling slightly. That attack just now had almost taken his life. He had thought that he would dodge in advance to avoid being hit in his vitals. But even so, his left arm was still injured, and he couldn't lift it at all. It seemed that he could only use that move. Lin Xian looked at the approaching Yan Qitian, and his right hand once again gripped the slaughter sword. The battle is not over yet. Lin Xian suddenly exploded, and a sword light tore through the sky. Outer sky meteor. The dazzling sword light flashed like a meteor, dazzling but short. Not good. Yan Qitian's entire body tensed up. He felt an extremely powerful threat, which was a warning from his soul. Devil Chi rolled, emitting a pitch-black light, forming an ice-cold armor that covered his body. At the same time, the demonic mark on his forehead flashed again. But he was still one step too late. Just as the demonic mark was formed, the dazzling sword light had already pierced him. One sword, throat. Blood splattered, and Lin Xian's figure appeared behind Yan Qitian. Behind him, a black crack appeared in the void, which was quickly healing. Yan Qitian's body kept trembling, and the devil chi on his body began to disappear. Drip, drip, blood dripped, splashing on the ground. Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect that the powerful young devil king Yen Qitian would be killed with one sword. Even the middle-aged man was stunned. This result was different from what he had expected. He had analyzed the situation before and found that Yen Qitian had a 70% chance of winning. But now he found that he was wrong. The young swordsman in front of him couldn't be analyzed with common sense. In the depths of Merry Forest, in front of a splendid palace, a few figures stood. Their eyes flickered, looking at the battlefield where Lin Xian was. Exciting, very exciting. They didn't expect to see such a stunning swordsman in the Sand region. On the left, a middle-aged man laughed. This man was dressed like a scholar, and he was holding a yellowed book in his hand. If one sensed carefully, they would find that this middle-aged scholar had a faint aura of a supremacy. This was definitely a terrifying figure. However, such an expert didn't use jade slips or scrolls, and he was holding an old book. It was really strange. Humph, I guess he's not a Sand region martial artist. He must have followed the young miss here. These two people, they actually attacked in advance. They really can't wait, but that Yen Qitian is too weak. He was actually killed. On the right was a young girl wearing an exquisite yellow dress. She had two small braids, a pair of big black eyes, and a delicate appearance. She was very cute. At this moment, she was pouting, rolling her eyes, and snorting. Ling, you're wrong. Yen Qitian didn't die. A cold voice came. Then a white figure appeared. Young miss. The young girl called Ling turned her head, blinking her big eyes with a puzzled look. The middle-aged scholar on the left looked back with a smile. Behind him, a beautiful figure slowly walked over. That figure was in her 20s, and she was full of noble aura. Although she was wearing a long dress, it couldn't hide her impressive figure. That beautiful face was covered with a thin veil, which added a bit of mystery. This woman was like a fairy, with a colorful radiance on her body, making people look up to her. Young miss, his throat was slit by a sword. How could he not die? Ling held the arm of the beautiful figure and asked puzzledly, "Watch and you'll understand." The figure said slowly, Chapter 654. In front of him, the demonic aura on Yen Qitian's body disappeared, revealing his true appearance. However, that was not Yen Qitian himself, but the corpse of a demon general. At the critical moment, Yen Qitian had used his life-saving method, using a demon general to replace his death, saving his life. Lin Xian also sighed. His opponent was indeed powerful. He actually did not discover him. Whoosh! In the distance, Yen Qitian's figure appeared. His entire body was abnormally weak. Brat, today's battle ends here. Next time, I will personally kill you. After speaking, he did not wait for Lin Xian's response and quickly rushed into the sky, disappearing into the sky. Everyone was shocked. Yen Qitian, who was known as the Demon King, had actually escaped. This was too shocking. That was the Sand region's genius, and he was defeated just like that. It's Lin Xian, someone exclaimed. Many of them were Quicksand City's martial artists. Now that the demonic aura had disappeared, they naturally recognized Lin Xian. It's actually him. A few days ago, he was only competing with the geniuses, but now he can actually defeat them. This speed of improvement is too fast. Countless people were envious, their faces filled with madness. Lin Xian did not pay attention to these people. Instead, he directly sat on the ground and began to recover. This time, his injuries were even more serious. His left arm was almost crippled. Fortunately, he had a 1,000-year elixir. Otherwise, he would not be able to recover in a short period of time. After arranging a simple array, Lin Xian closed his eyes and adjusted his breathing. In the distance, The girl called Ling looked at Lin Xian's voice and lightly snorted. This guy is really daring. He actually dares to recover here. Is he not afraid that someone will attack him? This is where he is smart. The white-robed figure behind her said, those who are weak cannot even get close to him, and those who are strong cannot attack in this kind of public place. After all, geniuses like him will have a force behind them. This guy is so cunning. Ling lightly snorted. That guy is actually eating 1,000-year elixir. The middle-aged scholar beside her was greatly surprised. It seems that he is not a Sand Region disciple. Otherwise, he would not have 1,000-year elixir. They all knew that 1,000-year-old spiritual herbs were extremely precious in the Sand Region. Lin Xian's movements were very fast. Other than the middle-aged scholar and a few others, no one else saw him. Linger, when his injuries are healed, invite him over for a chat. The white-robed figure turned and left, walking into the palace. This guy, what great fortune! He actually managed to gain the young Miss favor. Ling was also greatly astonished. She had followed her young Miss for many years and naturally knew her young Miss's temper. There were so many young geniuses in the Sky Martial Continent, but only a few were able to gain her favor. Unknowingly, Ling-er's interest in Lin Xian grew. With the Millennium Elixir, Lin Xian's recovery speed was even faster. In addition to his longevity secret art, his injuries were almost healed in half a day. If it were anyone else, it would be impossible for them to recover without at least half a year. After recovering from his injuries, Lin Xian did not leave. Instead, he began to cultivate the great dragon sword spirit. He had gained a lot from this battle, and now was the time to digest it. In the distance, Ling-er was very surprised to see Lin Xian recover in half a day. She wanted to go over, but she found that he had actually closed his eyes and sat cross-legged again. This made her very angry. Humph! Ling-er pouted, looking angry. Damn guy. He actually made me wait for so long. Lin Xian did not know that someone was waiting for him. He was currently in the middle of comprehending. In the blink of an eye, a day passed. During this time, the people of Merry Forest did not disturb Lin Xian. Even the surrounding martial artists were dispersed by them. Ling-er came out of the palace, and after seeing Lin Xian still meditating, she whispered a few words and ignored him. After another half a day, Lin Xian opened his eyes. Soon after, he revealed a satisfied smile. In this battle, his great dragon sword spirit fusion had reached 80%. His combat strength had increased again, and compared to before, it was a great improvement. Now that he was fighting with Yan Qi-tian, he would not be in such a sorry state. He was even confident that he could defeat him without getting injured. There are still 20% left. Xiao Li, I hope you won't disappoint me. Lin Xian stood up, his eyes shining. His last target was Xiao Li, who was also one of the Sand Region's geniuses. He had a deep impression of Xiao Li because he was a swordsman who had comprehended the embryonic form of a sword spirit. This kind of person's attack power was very fierce. Previously, when he was testing the waters in Quicksand City, he had felt that dormant sword spirit which made his heart tremble. Therefore, he put Xiao Li as the last target. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian prepared to leave. At this time, there was a sudden sound in front of him, and a black light shot towards him. Buzz. Lin Xian stretched out 2 fingers and caught it. Then he was slightly stunned because he realized that the black light was actually a spirit fruit, and its grade was not low. Hey, my young mistress invites you. In front of him, a sweet-looking girl appeared and said with her chin raised. Lin Xian frowned. Someone who could squander a spirit fruit like this was definitely not an ordinary person. At least, she was not from the Sand Region. However, he was a little disgusted by her attitude. Xiao Bai often throws things. I often teach it that it's not good. Lin Xian said lightly. Xiao Bai? Who's Xiao Bai? The girl was naturally Ling, she asked, curiously. Xiao Bai is a monkey that I raised. It likes to eat spirit fruits, but it often throws them, which gives me a headache, Lin Xian said with a smile. You bastard. Ling was stunned. Then she stomped her feet in anger. This guy is too despicable. He actually compared me to a monkey. How infuriating. She wanted to stomp on him a few times, and she did so. Her body turned into an afterimage. Ling rushed toward Lin Xian. Her speed was as fast as lightning, which was very shocking. Lin Xian was surprised. He did not expect this sweet-looking girl with a bad temper to be so fast. It was even a little beyond his expectations. However, it was still within his tolerance range. Lin Xian blocked the other party's kick with his arm in front of his chest. Then he stepped to the side and dodged another kick. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Countless footprints filled the air. It was a dazzling sight, but Lin Xian was like a flowing cloud, easily dodging them. Ling was angry and attacked again. Because she was wearing a dress, she was using leg techniques. A pair of white calves swayed in front of Lin Xian's eyes. It was very attractive. Slap. Lin Xian clenched his fist and pinched the pair of small feet. You're exposed. After Lin Xian grabbed them, he realized that something was wrong. Damn it, Ling screamed. A powerful wave of spirit energy burst out from her body, forming a wave of air that pushed Lin Xian away. Lin Xian tactfully let go of his hand and retreated to a safe distance with a smile. You're still laughing. Ling stomped her feet. She was going crazy with anger. How dare this damned thief take advantage of her? I'm so angry. I'm going to gouge your eyeballs out. Ling was so angry that her face turned pale. Her small hands formed claws and grabbed at Lin Xian. Chapter 655. Ling flew into a rage out of humiliation and grabbed at Lin Xian. This move went straight for Lin Xian's eyes. In an instant, that white palm turned bright red, like the sunset glow that wrapped around Linger's fingertips. A blazing aura surged out, piercing through the void. This temperature was not inferior to that of the fire demon from before. Lin Xian was astonished and stopped underestimating her. He did not expect a young girl to be so powerful. Wang, a low sound was heard, and a bright red lotus appeared, blooming in front of Lin Xian, forming a natural barrier. Dang, dang, dang. Her fingertips collided with the red lotus light screen, creating countless sparks as if metal and stone had collided. Linger's fingers were in pain, and her beautiful face wrinkled. She wanted to attack again, but Lin Xian dodged. Whoosh. His figure flickered, and the demonic red lotus circled above Linger's head, while Lin Xian dodged 10 zhang away. Don't move, or you'll have to bear the consequences, Lin Xian said. Linger was so angry that her chest heaved up and down, looking very alluring. She snorted, You're finished. My young miss originally had a good impression of you, but now I think there's nothing left. Your young miss? Lin Xian was astonished. Such a powerful young girl. Was she just a servant? That was too extravagant. Who is your young miss? Why should I see her? You don't know? This time, it was Linger's turn to be astonished. She snorted. You men traveled thousands of miles to the sand region and even fought until your heads bled. Wasn't it all to gain the favor of my young miss? Lin Xian was stunned, and then a name appeared in his mind. Could it be her? How is it? Are you regretting it now? Linger snorted. If you know what's good for you, let me go quickly and give me 8 or 10,000 years old spirit herbs, and I won't pursue this matter. Otherwise, you can just wait to cry. Linger had a smug look on her face. No one could refuse her young miss. However, she was disappointed this time. Little girl, you're too greedy. Lin Xian laughed. You can slowly reflect on yourself here. I'll leave first. You, how dare you? Linger was anxious. Don't you want to see my miss? I'm very busy. Maybe next time. Lin Xian waved his hand and disappeared. Damn it. How could this be? Linger stomped her feet in anger. This guy, he's definitely not a man. Her nerves were in a mess. How could a man reject her family's young miss? Unless the other party wasn't a man. Whoosh. A white figure appeared nearby. Radiance scattered down from her body, making her look like a fairy. Miss Ling felt extremely wronged. That guy is too despicable. All right, I heard everything. The white-clothed beauty said indifferently. This person is very interesting. Humph, I'm guessing that he's definitely not a man. Either that, or he did it on purpose to attract Mrs. Attention. This guy is too despicable and cunning, Linger said angrily. All right, let's go back. The white-clothed beauty said with a smile. She had seen many methods of loosening the reins, only to grasp them better. However, she had never seen someone as decisive as Lin Xian. With a wave of her hand, a blue ice crystal appeared. Immediately, the surrounding temperature dropped. The air condensed, and the surrounding 10 zhong radius turned into a world of ice and snow. Countless ice crystals scattered down and quickly rushed towards the demonic red lotus in the air. Ka, ka, ka. In an instant, the red lotus was sealed in ice. Immediately, the demonic red lotus mysterious power disappeared. Linger was pleased with her release. Humph, that despicable guy. The next time I see him, I'll definitely teach him a lesson, Linger said angrily. Soon after, he followed the white-clothed beauty and quickly left. Lin Xian naturally did not know about these things. He was now invited to an exquisite hall. The one who led him here was the purple-clothed middle-aged man who led him here earlier. Hearing that the master of Merry Woods wanted to see him, Lin Xian was very surprised. He knew that the battle with Yen Qi-Tian must have alerted the master of this place. However, after the battle, the people of Merry Woods did not find trouble with him. Instead, they helped him clear the area. All of these actions were filled with kindness. However, Lin Xian was a bit of an exception. Young hero Lin, my master has arrived, the purple-clothed middle-aged man said. Hearing this, Lin Xian turned around and saw a young man slowly walking over. His speed was not fast, but in the blink of an eye, he was already in front of him. So fast. Lin Xian was surprised. This footwork had the feeling of shrinking the ground into an inch. Thinking about it, the other party's strength must be very strong. He estimated that he was definitely not weaker than the Sand Region's geniuses. The young man was dressed in a white jade robe. He was slender and handsome. The corner of his mouth had a playful smile. He held a folding fan in his hand and looked elegant. Lin Xian was surprised. He did not expect the master of Merry Woods to be such an elegant young master. He originally thought that he was an old monster. Young hero Lin, this is young Master Wu Quebec. He is also the master of Merry Woods. Young Master Wu Kei, what a good name. Lin Xian sighed in his heart. Thinking about it, the master of Merry Woods should not lack anything. Earlier, I did not agree to the battle here. Please forgive me, young master. What are you talking about? Young hero Lin is a young genius. Being able to defeat the Sand Region's geniuses at such a young age, your future achievements will be limitless. I like to make friends with people like young hero Lin. And Wu Kei laughed and then pulled Lin Xian to a seat. Lin Xian understood that young Master Wu Kei was here to make friends. Thinking about it, young Master Wu Kei must be interested in his growth potential. Thinking about Lin Xian, once he entered the honorable realm, he would definitely be an extremely powerful existence. Who knows, he might even have the chance to enter the king realm in the future. This kind of genius was someone that all forces wanted to rope in. Of course, and Wu Kei had to be one step ahead. Moreover, he had other plans. After chatting for a while, Lin Xian admired and Wu Kei even more. Whether it was in terms of martial arts or experience, and Wu Kei far surpassed his peers. He could be said to be a rare genius. Lin Xian exchanged some martial arts experiences with Wu Kei and was enlightened. In the end, he did not tarry and cupped his fist to bid farewell. "Young master, why didn't you just tell him about us?" The middle-aged man in purple was puzzled. "I think he won't refuse after knowing the truth." "No." And Wu Kei shook his head. "This kind of person is like a true dragon. He won't lower his head. We just need to have a good relationship with him. Who knows, he might surprise us at a crucial moment." And Wu Kei waved his fan and said with a carefree expression, "Don't investigate him, and don't follow him. Remember, we can't make him dislike us." "Yes," the middle-aged man in purple said respectfully. Lin Xian left Merry Woods and headed towards Quicksand City. According to what he knew, Shaoli was in Quicksand City. It was a dark and windy night. Quicksand City was still brightly lit, and it was bustling with noise. Especially the arenas. Their cheers shook the heavens, and dazzling lights shot towards the surroundings. Lin Xian was like a ray of light as he flashed through the sky and flew towards the outskirts of the city. It was very desolate there. There were no lights or cultivators there. Only the faint moonlight sprinkled down, and it was extremely quiet. If one looked carefully, one would notice that this was a dilapidated ancient residence. Cobwebs covered the entire place, while a thick layer of dust covered the ground. Everything in the surroundings showed that no one had been here for a very long time. However, a single person was sitting within this quiet residence. Chapter 656. However, in the silent mansion, there was a person sitting there. This person sat under the moonlight, looking somewhat lonely. However, if one looked carefully, they would discover a different kind of aura. Moreover, there were beams of cold light emitting from below. The light was very sharp, like cold ice, piercing one's soul. This person was naturally Shaoli. At this moment, he was slowly wiping the long blade in his hand. The long blade was completely black, looking simple and unadorned. At first glance, it looked like an ordinary sword, nothing special. However, Shaoli's expression was very careful, as if he was facing the most precious treasure in the world. His movements were very gentle, wiping every part of the long blade clean. To him, this jet-black saber was his life. Lin Xian flew all the way and finally arrived at the top of the ancient castle. He saw Shaoli below but did not make a sound, only quietly watching. This was a form of respect for Shaoli. As a sword artist, he also knew the importance of a weapon to a martial artist, especially for sword artists and blade artists. They viewed weapons as their life. Moreover, he often wiped the Wind Shadow sword and Star Scar sword. Every time he did this, his heart would be very calm. Therefore, he knew that Shaoli could not be disturbed at this time. Lin Xian slowly descended like a cloud, lightly landing in the mansion. Shaoli did not turn his head, still slowly wiping the long blade. With his strength, he should have already discovered Lin Xian's existence, but he acted as if he did not know. Time flew, and in the blink of an eye, 2 hours had passed. During this time, Shaoli had been silently wiping his long blade, while Lin Xian was like a statue, quietly standing there. He did not speak and did not even move. When Shaoli finished wiping, he tightly gripped the long blade in his hand. Soon after, his entire temperament changed. He no longer had the loneliness from before, but was replaced by a cold sharpness. His whole body was like a blade, wild and sharp to the extreme. Come, I will go all out in this battle. Shaoli knew that he was not familiar with Lin Xian. The fact that he could wait for 2 hours meant that he wanted to fight with him. All right, Lin Xian said in a deep voice as he pulled out the wind shadow sword from his waist. An even fiercer and fiercer aura gushed out and filled the surroundings of the old house. Their gazes met, and it was like the light of a blade and the shadow of a sword, causing the entire void to emit cracking sounds. Let's decide this in one move, Shaoli said. His voice was as cold as a blade. Lin Xian was shocked, but he nodded slowly. No matter what method the other party used, he would not lose. Determining victory and defeat in one move seemed like a fantasy to other martial artists. However, for swordsmen and sabresmen, one move was enough. The two of them faced each other, and their auras continued to rise. They were like divine swords and heavenly blades, standing tall in the old mansion. Around the two of them, there were countless tiny saber lights and sword shadows, forming a special area. That power was so terrifying that even a half-step supremacy would be killed immediately if they entered. Although the two of them did not make a move, the aura they exuded was enough to make people tremble. However, the aura did not stop there. It was still rising rapidly. Lin Xian was very cautious. He had to use his full strength for this move. Countless sword qi condensed behind him, and the shadow of a true dragon roared. The sound was deep and desolate, and it was filled with power, causing the air above to explode. In front of him, the shadow of a long sword appeared. Although the dragon head and sword body were a little dim, they were filled with a shocking power. On the opposite side, Shao Li's pupils shrank. He naturally felt the pressure from the dragon head sword. With a low shout, he also released the fledgling form of his martial soul. His martial soul was naturally a long saber martial soul. The fledgling form of the saber soul and the jet-black long saber in his hand combined, causing Shao Li's aura to grow stronger again. The jet-black long saber that looked simple and unadorned was now like a black jade, emitting a sparkling light. A shocking aura was emitted from it. The two young men were emitting a terrifying power that was comparable to that of a supremacy. If anyone was here, their jaws would drop, because the aura of the two of them was so strong that they could even fight against a supremacy. Lin Xian was also shocked. He guessed right. Shao Li's strength was definitely strong. He was probably one of the top geniuses. Take his aura, for example. It was even stronger than Yan Qiqian's. Shao Li was probably only one step away from a true martial soul. This was a very strong opponent. Lin Xian believed that the winner of this battle would definitely be able to condense a true martial soul quickly. Therefore, he had to win this time. The two of them faced each other, looking for each other's flaws and preparing to kill with one strike. They put all their energy on each other and did not have the extra energy to check the situation around them. At this moment, above the old house, another figure flashed quickly. This figure was shrouded in a black fog. Like a ghost, he did not emit a trace of aura. His gaze was cold as he stared at Lin Xian's figure, like an experienced hunter staring at his prey. He was also waiting for the best time to attack. Below, Lin Xian's figure was tall and straight. His entire body was filled with the aura of a sword soul. At this moment, he had raised his essence, qi, and spirit to the highest level. This was the best time for him to attack. If he missed it, he would have to wait for a long time. As a swordsman, he would definitely not hesitate when he attacked. Therefore, Lin Xian held the dragon-shaped sword and quickly stabbed out. However, the moment he moved, the black-clothed man in the darkness laughed silently. A black spear appeared in his hand, and he quickly threw it out. This spear was completely black. It was different from the black of Xiao Li's long saber. This black was a kind of death. It was a cold and gloomy color, as if there was endless resentment mixed in it. Like a flash of lightning, this spear was extremely fast. The void shattered, and countless cracks appeared. The spear instantly arrived behind Lin Xian. Originally, Lin Xian was highly focused and focused all his energy on Xiao Li. However, he did not expect that a fatal danger would suddenly come from behind him. This made his heart thump and his entire body tense up. At this crucial moment, he gave up on Xiao Li and used all his strength to resist the fatal attack behind him. In an instant, a layer of bright red armor appeared on his body, forming the strongest defense. At the same time, the dragon-shaped sword danced behind him. The sword light was like a divine sword shining in all directions. It was like 3,000 bolts of lightning rushing behind him. However, he still underestimated the fatal danger. The pitch-black spear emitted a gloomy, ghostly aura. It was like a river of the underworld, rushing over quickly. On it, there were countless ferocious ghost howls, turning the surroundings into the yellow springs of hell. Clang! Lin Xian's long sword hit the spearhead, causing it to deviate, but the spear still stabbed him. In the next moment, the spear pierced through his body. Chapter 657. The spear was terrifying and carried an astonishing aura of death, like a roaring river. It instantly pierced through Lin Xian. The spear was so powerful that even though Lin Xian was protected by the red lotus armor, his defense was still broken. Moreover, the powerful force pushed Lin Xian's body back and nailed him to a huge rock. Buzz! The rockery that was dozens of feet tall could not withstand the force and exploded into powder, scattering in the air with a bloody mist. The spear pierced through more than 10 huge rockery before it blasted Lin Xian into a pile of ruins. Xiao Li was shocked. He did not expect that there would be an expert hiding nearby when the two of them were fighting. However, he did not move. Instead, he put away his saber and watched silently. He knew that an expert like Lin Xian would not die as long as he was not hit in the vitals. Therefore, he did not need to do anything in the following battle. After the successful attack, the mysterious person hiding in the darkness revealed himself. His body was covered in black mist, and he walked in the air like a ghost. He was very fast and arrived at the center of the old residence in the blink of an eye. He didn't look at Lin Xian. Instead, he stared at Xiao Li as a wisp of deep fear appeared on his face. Lin Xian was crippled after being stabbed by him. There was no need to worry about him at all. However, Xiao Li was unharmed. If the mysterious person attacked, he would not be able to take him down in a short time with his terrifying strength. He might even be killed by the mysterious person. However, what surprised him was that Xiao Li had no intention of attacking. The mysterious person secretly heaved a sigh of relief and stopped paying attention to Xiao Li. Instead, he turned to look at the ruins in front of him. Then he revealed a sinister smile. He stretched out his palm, and black mist surged around his body. It was extremely terrifying and formed a huge black hand that grabbed forward. The air cracked, and there was a ghostly howl. The huge black hand quickly fell. However, just as he was about to land, a black flash pierced out like a black lightning bolt and illuminated the entire old residence. It was like a bolt of lightning that pierced through the black hand. The mysterious person's pupils constricted. He felt pain in his palm and immediately withdrew it. Then he looked forward cautiously. The ruins exploded as a figure soared into the sky. This figure was naturally Lin Xian. At this moment, there was a bloody hole the size of a bowl on his left rib. The red lotus battle armor around him was shattered, forming numerous cracks. One could only imagine how terrifying that spear strike was. However, he had already pulled out his spear and held it in his left hand, while his right hand held a dragon sword. His entire body was filled with killing intent, like a god of death. Who sent you? Lin Xian's voice was cold. Humph, you'll never know. Brat, consider yourself lucky this time. Next time, I'll definitely take your dog life, the mysterious man said hatefully. Obviously, he was very unwilling to accept his failure this time. After failing to kill Lin Xian with a single strike, the thought of retreating sprouted in his heart, and he prepared to leave. You want to leave? Lin Xian sneered. Do you think that's possible? Since you dare to kill me, then stay. You? A seriously injured kid? Do you really think you're the number one of the younger generation? The mysterious man sneered and suddenly turned around. His body was surrounded by a black aura, and his eyes were like two black spears that pierced through the void. You'll know soon enough whether I can or not. Lin Xian's expression was cold. With a shake of his left arm, he threw the spear in his hand. Buzz! The black spear in his hand was thrown out, and it instantly turned into a black torrent that rushed rapidly toward the mysterious man. This spear was even more powerful than the one before. What? The mysterious man's pupils constricted. He did not expect Lin Xian to still have such strength despite being seriously injured. In great shock, he dodged with all his might. With a roar, he was like the king of hell. He quickly moved horizontally, leaving behind clouds of black mist in the void. At the critical moment, the mysterious man displayed his extreme speed and narrowly dodged the spear. However, Lin Xian was even faster. The tempest wings appeared on his back and flapped rapidly. Then he disappeared into the air. The power of tempest surged. His entire body turned into a flash of lightning and appeared near the black spear in an instant. Lin Xian stretched out his left hand and grabbed the black spear. Then his arms danced rapidly. The sky was filled with spear radiance. The black spear shadows intertwined to form a net of death that quickly enveloped the mysterious man. The momentum was terrifying. Impossible! The mysterious man was horrified. His eyes were filled with horror. He did not expect Lin Xian to be so fast that he could catch up with the black spear. At this moment, he finally revealed a look of fear. A genius was indeed a genius. Even if he was seriously injured, he was not someone that ordinary people could contend with. However, since he dared to assassinate Lin Xian, he was naturally very confident in his own strength. The mysterious man roared and calmed down from his initial shock. Then he quickly threw a punch forward. The terrifying fist was as black as iron and as heavy as a demonic mountain. It quickly blasted forward, trying to tear the net of death apart. Suddenly, the void trembled violently, like thousands of horses galloping. It carried a violent force and collided with the net of death formed by the intertwined spear radiance. Boom, boom. A low sound was heard. The black fist collided with the net of death, causing the net to tremble violently. However, under Lin Xian's mysterious control, the net of death bloomed with a dazzling light. Once again, it transformed into countless spear radiance and quickly pierced towards the mysterious man. This change was very shocking. The mysterious man was shocked and quickly counterattacked. However, the spear radiance was too dense. Even if he was incomparably strong, he was still bombarded. The violent force caused his body to tremble continuously. He frantically retreated, blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. Kid, you deserve to die. I will take your dog life one day. The mysterious man did not dare to stay any longer. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and quickly turned to leave. "Wanna leave?" Lin Xian sneered, looking at the mysterious man who had turned into a ray of light. He quickly drew his sword. The great dragon sword in his hand was as fast as lightning. Everlasting green cloud, a flash of sword radiance, as dazzling as the Milky Way, instantly lit up the entire sky. Ah! A miserable cry was heard. It was very ear-piercing in the boundless night. The mysterious man had just reached the wall of the ancient castle when he was slashed by the dazzling sword radiance. He roared crazily and used all his means to resist, but the sword radiance was too powerful. It instantly cut him in half. The black-robed man suffered a heavy blow. The black fog around his body quickly retreated, revealing an old body. It was an old man. At this moment, his face was pale and filled with fear. He could not understand why Lin Xian's sword radiance was so fierce. Lin Xian's figure flashed. Like lightning, he instantly arrived beside the old man. The great dragon's sword in his hand slanted and pointed at the old man's throat. "I'll give you one last chance. Speak. Who sent you?" "Kid, you'll never know. Even if you become a venerable in the future, you won't be able to fight against us." The mysterious old man roared ferociously. His voice was filled with intense unwillingness. Then a hint of madness appeared in his eyes. He quickly reversed the spiritual power in his body. An extremely powerful force was being nurtured in his body, and it exploded with a loud bang. In an instant, the energy that could destroy more than half of the city enveloped Lin Xian. Chapter 658. The mysterious old man had chosen to self-destruct in an attempt to drag Lin Xian down with him. A force capable of destroying half a city gushed out and enveloped Lin Xian in an instant. Lin Xian's pupils shrank as he quickly slashed out with the great dragon sword in his hand. Streaks of dazzling sword rays shot out in all directions like thunder from the ninth heaven. Suddenly, the terrifying sword Qi slashed apart the violent energy. At the same time, he reached out with his left hand and grabbed a token with lightning speed to prevent it from being destroyed by the energy. Qi, Qi. At this moment, the sword Qi surrounded Lin Xian, creating a small vacuum. The destructive energy quickly dissipated when it reached this place. For a moment, Lin Xian was safe and sound, but the surrounding ancient castle was in danger. If the energy dissipated, the entire ancient mansion would be turned into ashes in an instant. In the distance, Xiao Li snorted coldly. He unsheathed his jet-black saber and quickly slashed out 18 times. The blazing saber rays flashed, bringing with them a dazzling brilliance. It was as if the Milky Way was rushing through the void, roaring incessantly. In the next moment, the wanton energy mass was also split apart and shattered under the saber rays. The violent flow of energy wreaked havoc in the ancient mansion, but it was not in danger of being blown into ashes. Lin Xian and Xiao Li's actions quickly dissipated the violent energy. It did not have any effect at all. However, the mysterious old man would not know about this because he had been turned into ashes along with the terrifying energy. This guy is ruthless. Lin Xian took a deep breath. He did not expect that the old man would choose to self-destruct rather than reveal his identity. He must be afraid of his revenge. However, at the last moment, he grabbed a token. At this moment, he opened his left hand to reveal the token inside. This token was only half the size of his palm. The pattern was simple and unadorned, and the word Shun was engraved in the center. Seeing this token, Lin Xian immediately understood. This old man was from the Shen family, which meant that he had been sent by Shen Yaotian. Humph! If I have a chance in the future, I will definitely return this gift to the Shen family. Lin Xian snorted coldly and crushed the token in his hand. Then he turned to Xiao Li and said, "All right, we can continue our battle." However, Xiao Li shook his head. "You're injured. Even if I win, it would be an unfair victory. Lin Xian frowned slightly. He really didn't have much confidence in his current state. Previously, I made you wait for 2 hours while I was cleaning my saber. Now I'll give you 2 hours. When you've recovered, we'll fight again. Xiao Li said in a deep voice. All right. Lin Xian did not stand on ceremony. He quickly sat cross-legged on the ground and began to heal his wounds. Although the wound looked terrifying, it wasn't a big deal for someone like Lin Xian, who had a strong constitution. Moreover, he had the art of longevity, so he could recover very quickly. However, the real problem was not his wounds, but the strange black aura in his body. This aura came from the black spear. It carried a sinister and strange aura. It was very evil and was rapidly destroying his bodily functions. Fortunately, Lin Xian had the great dragon sword soul in his body, which prevented his body from being destroyed. If it were someone else, they would have become an evil spirit by now. In 2 hours, he had eliminated the qi of the resentful spirit in his body and healed his wounds. Then he confronted Xiao Li again. Strong fighting spirit burst out from their eyes. 2 powerful auras gushed out from their bodies and soared into the sky. This time, they did not compete with their martial techniques. Instead, they used their martial souls to fight. A black saber shadow tore through the sky. It was like a rainbow hanging from the 9 heavens, shining brightly. On the other side, Lin Xian's great dragon sword soul exploded. A dragon-shaped sword shadow rushed out and pierced the clouds. When the saber soul and sword soul appeared, the surrounding weather changed. Endless gales surged and covered the cold moon in the sky. At this moment, all the martial artists in Quicksand City felt 2 shocking forces coming from afar. The aura made them tremble. Ordinary martial artists only trembled and did not know what was happening. However, those martial artists who had condensed the embryonic form of their martial souls were all shocked. They could naturally sense the 2 forces. Those were the embryonic forms of their martial souls. Moreover, they were extremely powerful. They were only 1 step away from evolving and becoming a real martial soul. So powerful. Who is this? Is he going to break through? At this moment, all the martial artists in Quicksand City were shocked. Countless people soared into the sky and flew towards the source of the 2 forces. They wanted to know who had reached the final step and was about to break through to the honorable realm. However, just as they soared into the sky, an intense vibration came from the void. The terrifying energy turned into a strong wind that blew in all directions. It shook them until their faces turned pale. What's going on? Those 2 forces are colliding. Oh my God! Someone is fighting. At this moment, even the honorables could not remain calm. They all stretched out their soul perception to see what was going on. Inside the old mansion, Lin Xian and Xiao Li collided for the first time. The sword and saber souls collided and released an earth-shattering energy shock wave. In an instant, Lin Xian and Xiao Li felt as if they were struck by lightning. Their bodies trembled, and they each took half a step back. Then Lin Xian roared and activated the great dragon sword soul again. He slashed forward. Xiao Li did not want to fall behind and quickly met the attack. Rumble! The void trembled and the ground cracked. Countless waves of air rolled and rushed in all directions. Piercing light shone in the sky, forming a curtain of light that swept across the sky. Lin Xian and Xiao Li collided wildly. After 9 attacks, both of them took 10 steps back, and their bodies swayed. Barf! Xiao Li finally could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. On the other hand, Lin Xian gritted his teeth and his eyes shone brightly. In the next moment, an astonishing dragon roar and sword cry came from his body. It was as if he had broken some kind of shackle. An extremely powerful and mysterious force filled his body. He let out a long roar, and a look of ecstasy appeared in his eyes. He did not care about anything else, and withdrew the great dragon sword soul. He turned into a sword light and instantly left the old mansion, disappearing into the sky. Not long after, the sole perception of the honorables covered the sky and earth. In the distance, countless figures were running wildly toward this place. Xiao Li used a mysterious technique to suppress the injuries in his body. Then he snorted and a shocking saber light soared into the sky. Those who trespass into the old mansion will be killed without mercy. A cold voice resounded and echoed in the surroundings. Immediately, the figures in the distance stopped and did not dare to move forward. Xiao Li, it's Xiao Li. The people in the distance were terrified. They did not expect Xiao Li to have reached this step, and was only a hair away from entering the true honorable realm. However, judging from the current aura, Xiao Li was still in the embryonic form of a sword soul and had not broken through. This made everyone secretly relieved. No, someone was fighting just now. Who was fighting with Xiao Li? The people were puzzled and came to a realization. This was because they sensed that the other aura was not weaker than Xiao Li's. The embryonic form of the martial soul was very powerful and was only a hair away from breaking through and becoming a true martial soul. At this moment, they did not know the result of the battle, nor did they know who the other person was. Chapter 659. Looks like the two of them are fighting to find an opportunity to break through. I wonder who will win. If that person wins, he might be able to condense a true martial soul. Everyone was shocked as they discussed. The sovereigns were silent and sighed in the end. They had already sensed the remnant aura with their soul power and guessed the other party's identity. The sovereigns were silent because they had already guessed that person's identity, especially the sovereigns of Blackwood Stronghold. Their faces were terrifyingly dark. They were even unwilling to accept this fact. However, the remnant aura of the sword soul stimulated them, indicating that their guess was not wrong. The sovereign withdrew his soul and gathered the elders in the clan to discuss countermeasures. Damn it! How could it be that thief? Everyone's faces were ugly. They could not accept this at all, especially Heimuya. When he heard the news, his body trembled and his eyes turned black. He almost fainted from anger. No, this thief can't be left alive. I want him dead. Heimuya gritted his teeth and said he did not expect the other party to be so terrifying and reach such a height. Originally, he wanted to take revenge himself, but now, if the other party really condensed a martial soul, he would have no chance. Not only him, this was an outcome that no one in Blackwood Stronghold wanted to see. No, we have to get rid of him, and we have to do it tonight. The Blackwood Stronghold Patriarch said in a deep voice. This time, he planned to send out sovereigns. Blackwood Stronghold was not the only one with this idea. Shen Yaotian was also angry. His face was ferocious and terrifying. He had sent out his bodyguard to assassinate Lin Xian, but he did not expect that he would fail. Moreover, the other party might even break through. As a genius of the House of Kings, he would not allow such a thing to happen. Therefore, he immediately sent out his personal sovereigns to kill Lin Xian. For a moment, two sovereigns secretly moved out and quickly ran towards Lin Xian's courtyard. Lin Xian returned from the old house and immediately entered the courtyard. He let the Crimson Dragon set up a defensive array. When the Crimson Dragon saw Lin Xian covered in wounds, its eyelids twitched. Boy, how many people did you fight? How did you end up in such a sorry state? Not many, just 3 geniuses. What? 3 sky prides? 3 geniuses in 2 days. You're crazy, the Crimson Dragon exclaimed. It was well aware of the prodigy's strength. They weren't any weaker than Lin Xian. Perhaps only a madman like Lin Shui could carry out 3 life-and-death battles in such a short period of time. Furthermore, what shocked it even more was that it felt an extremely powerful martial soul power within Lin Xian's body. Is he going to break through? It seems that it's much earlier than I thought. The Crimson Dragon was shocked again. According to its estimation, Lin Xian should have needed more than 10 days to break through, but it didn't expect him to reach this point in just 2 or 3 days. This kind of speed, in the history of cultivation, not to mention that no one would be able to match it in the future. It was absolutely unprecedented. At this moment, the power in Lin Xian's body was growing stronger and stronger. The terrifying power seemed to be about to burst him. He had to immediately go into seclusion to condense his sword soul. Otherwise, if he missed this opportunity, it would be very difficult for him to have such an opportunity in the future. Rosalong, no matter what happens tonight, you must block it. Don't let anyone in. Lin Xian instructed. If you can survive tonight, all the primordial yang stones will be yours in the future. Don't worry, leave it to Ben Huang. The Crimson Dragon shouted excitedly when it heard the 3 words, primordial yang stones. Then Lin Xian released the snow-white monkey and let it join forces with the Crimson Dragon to guard him. He sat cross-legged under the ancient tree and quickly entered a state of cultivation with his hands forming seals. It was a moonless and windy night, the perfect time to kill someone. The venerables of the Blackwood Castle were the first to arrive above Lin Xian's courtyard. Then he snorted coldly and quickly pressed down. The void vibrated, and the airflow rapidly formed a huge palm, which quickly blasted down on the courtyard below. Bang! When the huge palm was 100 meters away from the ground, it was blocked and made a deep sound. There's a formation. The venerables of the Blackwood Castle were stunned. This time, the venerables was a middle-aged man. He had a scar on his face which made him look unusually ferocious and terrifying. At this moment, the scarred man frowned slightly. A formation that could block his attack was probably not an ordinary one. It seemed that the other party had made sufficient preparations beforehand. It's just a formation. Do you really think you can stop a venerables? What a joke. The scarred venerables sneered disdainfully. He did not plan to waste time and decided to attack with all his might to end the battle quickly. After all, he was a venerables. If news of him assassinating a young genius with unlimited potential were to spread, it would definitely cause a huge impact. At least the palace of Ares would not let them off. Therefore, he did not attack again. Instead, his body shone brightly, and he quickly fell down like a meteor. In the courtyard, the Crimson Dragon looked solemn. It looked outside while waving its dragon claws to control the formation. Damn it, they sent a venerables. The Blackwood family is really shameless. The Crimson Dragon stomped its feet in anger. If Ben Huang still had his cultivation, he would definitely kill them all with a slap. Crack! 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 Just as it was getting angry, a crisp, cracking sound came from the sky above. Countless cracks appeared like a mirror. Damn it, they're attacking again. The Crimson Dragon cursed in a low voice and quickly operated the formation to counteract the terrifying power. However, it had underestimated the determination of the Blackwood Fortress venerables. In addition, it had lost its dragon origin and could only use part of the formation's power. Currently, it could only passively defend for a while. Wooji, wooji, wooji. The little white monkey was anxious as it watched from the side. Its body swayed, and it was about to rush out. Little ancestor, you can't go out. The dark red divine dragon was quick to react. It grabbed snowy white snow and consoled her. If the little white monkey went out and was caught, Lin Xian would definitely fight it to the death. When he woke up, "Don't worry, Ben Huang's formation won't be so weak. It can last for at least 2 hours." The Crimson Dragon gritted its teeth and said, "If it doesn't work, I'll risk losing a bit of my dragon origin to defend the formation." In the outside world, the Blackwood Fortress Venerable's attacks had failed twice, which made him extremely angry. A small formation had actually blocked his path. If news of this were to spread, he would definitely become the laughingstock of everyone. Thinking of this, a hint of viciousness appeared in his eyes. Then he used his martial soul and made a terrifying attack. Crack! 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 The entire formation shook violently as if it would fall apart at any time. The Crimson Dragon's eyes were red like a rabbit's. "Damn it, you dare to use your martial soul. Do you really think Ben Huang is easy to bully?" He gritted his teeth and cursed. Then he spat out a drop of dragon blood and sent it into the formation above. Suddenly, the formation trembled and emitted a bright red light. The formation that was on the verge of collapse became firm again. You're tuning into the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.